and electrical needs. Or visit TriCountyElectricService.com.
Broadcasting from the 92.3 The Fan Studios. Fueled by True North Convenience Stores. WKRK-FM and HD1 Cleveland Heights. An Odyssey Sports Station.
92.3 The Fan, 2020 Sports.
Now, the Browns were expecting to have a second interview with former Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel today for their head coach opening. However, word came down Tuesday. McDaniel removed himself from consideration. Jonathan Jones of CBSSports.com. McDaniel seemed to lose interest in the Browns gig.
Mike McDaniel did not like the setup there with the Cleveland Browns, as an example. Would imagine that he didn't like either the quarterback situation, either the front office situation, perhaps the Cleveland Browns' path to the playoffs in the AFC North. Whatever it was, he decided that he would rather be, at best, second in command than being number one.
Well, last night we found out McDaniel's about to become the new offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Reports say McDaniel interviewed with L.A. on Tuesday. Browns had their second interview with the Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken on Tuesday. The Browns continued that search for a new head coach. Mary Kay Cabot at Cleveland.com reports Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter will be in town tomorrow. Jacksonville OC Grant Udinski meets with the Browns on Friday. Also, the Browns plan to talk again with Rams pass game coordinator Nate Scheelhaus sometime next week. G League action last night. Cleveland Chargers win on the road, beating Grand Rapids 125-105. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
The Afternoon Drive.
Indiana is college football's national champion.
Yeah.
Is one of the signs of the apocalypse.
So you think this is what is happening
Maybe
here?
this is prepping us for
Man,
it.
Signetti really tried his hardest to try to give that game to Miami, didn't he?
His post-game was one of the funniest things because he couldn't decide what emotion he was.
Yeah.
Smug for winning a championship in Indiana. Happy because he won a championship in Indiana.
Signetti's supposed to be like the greatest moment of his life, from a football perspective, and he's like correcting the person that introduces all the players at the podium.
And joining us in progress will be offensive player of the game, Alberto Mendoza. Coach,
Fernando
Mendoza.
Big mistake by that person.
Huge mistake.
That's a big mistake there.
It's a different Mendoza brother.
I know.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
By the end of the show, I'm sure the Baker people
Maybe
will get
his
in.
fans will turn us against it.
Oh, you know what's going to happen. They're going to go after the Baker people will go after us, and by the end of the show, I'm going to be cussing them out.
Well, you know what's going to happen, too.
Double A is going to have to hit the dump button.
You know what's going to happen, too.
You.
I thought it was over, but maybe it's not. Maybe the window is open right now where if Deshaun Watson struggles against the Bengals, we are going to get some people on their high horse on Monday, and they're going to say the Browns are eliminated. Maybe they should have moved on from a healthy Baker Mayfield.
All began with D. Orlando Ledbetter of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution took to X to say, Kevin Stefanski had a dumpster fire at quarterback in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson failed, which started a chain reaction to 11 other starters. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders closed out last season with 7 starts. Baker Mayfield, who quickly chimed in, failed was quite the reach, pal. Still waiting on a text/call from him after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, Coach.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy of NFL Network in memory lane. Hello.
What's up, Kenny?
So I was like, you know what? It's been a rough start to the week. I'll explain later. And I'm going to go to bed early tonight. So I was petting the dog in bed. That's not code for anything. Like, Jenny just lays on my chest. 6:46. I'm like, this is amazing. This is great. I didn't see. My phone was on, like, bed mode. Because there's a bat phone for. There's certain people owing you, Keith, who have Liz's number, who it's like, hey, the phone's in sleep mode. Call Liz. There it is. And I didn't think anything of it. And I fell asleep, rolled over, fell asleep. I'm like, oh, my God, this is going to be glorious. And I rolled over, and I fell asleep, and I woke up at 3:19. I actually woke up right before the alarm went off. And I looked, and I saw 27 different text messages. I go, oh, God, we hired somebody I didn't even see. I go, damn it. And I saw it. I go, you got to be kidding me. And then I counted 27 different text messages over that tweet. 27 people reached out over that tweet.
Yeah, I got a few. I didn't get that many.
Oh, my God. And it just was like, well, you guys got something to talk about tomorrow. You guys got something to talk about tomorrow. Oh, forget McDaniel. You guys got something to talk about. 27 different friends. Now, I got a lot of friends who I reach out to, obviously. 27 different people over that tweet. And I saw it, and I go...
Are those 27 people that wish we never would have gotten rid of Baker Mayfield?
We're going into... No, there's some of them hate him. Some of them absolutely hate him. Some of them thought... I mean, there a lot of them do wish we never got rid of Baker Mayfield because it's still... Baker still would be better than all this. That's where it wins in the end. Like, I'd still rather argue whether or not Baker could get over the hump against Allen and Lamar and all that stuff instead of you and me... As I said yesterday, fighting in a dumpster over Brett Heels, the equivalent of fighting over Malik Willis and all these other ones. Like, that's still better.
We probably would have been the Steelers over the last how many years?
Yes. And
no chance to win a Super Bowl, but...
And we would be having conversations of whether or not to move on from Baker Mayfield. That's all true. But it still would be better than the conversation that we're having now. Because Tampa's having that. I mean, you said you saw it right after they got bounced. Like, oh, God, like his contract is up after next year. Is this the guy? You have Emeka Ibuka there who he can't get on the same page with. They fired Grizzard. Like there's a lot of moving and shaking going on in Tampa right now to try to keep that thing afloat. And you can't count on Mike Evans forever. I mean, he's been a Hall of Fame level wide receiver. But either way, it would still be better than the conversation we had yesterday about getting red face over Malik Willis of all people. No offense to Malik Willis, buddy, but I mean we are in the... We're in the dark times here. You and I are in solitary confinement of Brown's prison, beating on the wall right now, yelling through the vents at each other over these quarterbacks. And so I saw it, but my first... You know what? Let me get your first reaction before I give you my reaction, because you will not be surprised by my first reaction.
It's that Baker was right last year. Last year, I don't know if you remember, but when there was MVP buzz, when they were off to that great start, and... I mean, quite literally, the odds in Vegas were Baker Mayfield, #1 MVP, I think like 5 or 6 weeks through the season. And he was playing lights out.
Yeah.
And he was engineering these huge drives. He was scrambling and taking these big hits and then getting up. And he was, looked like the riled up Baker that we remember that we all loved at early stages of his career in Cleveland. Baker, during one of the press conferences, was asked about how much he's matured, how much he's evolved over time. And I remember very specifically Baker was like, that's something for you guys. Like, I haven't changed a bit. And I was like, you know what?
Great memory.
He's right.
I forgot that.
He's right. He hasn't changed. He's just playing better. So we, the media, descend and try to come up with a story because the story is better. Because the media all dumped on him.
You bastard. You're right.
And so then he started playing well, and it's like, well, what changed, Baker? And they stick the microphone out in front of his face, and they're like, you're a family man now. You have children. I think they announced a second kid, or did they have a second kid? And all the pictures are beautiful.
100%
and
right.
He looks a little older, a little more mature. His body is always
sound
under
like Brandon Whedon. They're a little older, a little more mature.
Yeah. And the reality is, no, he hasn't changed. He hasn't changed. And what drives him, I think, still to this day, is that animosity or whatever is seething in him that he always has. He's been the poster child of, bulletin board material. Get him pumped up. And I think that's still him. He's never changed. He's just had an up and down roller coaster career because the NFL is really hard, and he's not at the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes.
You're right.
He's not at that level.
You are right.
So he's just being Baker.
I'm glad you reminded me of that before I went and set sail with an opinion on that, because you're right. Now I have to see it through his eyes, because I rolled my eyes and I go, we're going through the cycle again. This is the cycle. And in the words of Darryl Ryder, constantly majoring in the minor. This is the NFL. So you'll play Atlanta twice this year, and you'll probably split some way, somehow. And I'm sure in his eyes, he thinks he's going to throw 4 touchdowns, 400 yards, and they're going to win 50-0. And it's like, no, it's the NFL. You'll probably lose 17-16 in one of these games and throw 2 picks. Because you remember the Lions game. I will never, ever let anybody forget the Lions game. You win. He wouldn't talk to the media. That, to me, was the beginning of the end, that Lions game, where it was, I'm going to tune up the Lions. I'm going to show you this is how it is. And then, of course, there's the revisionist history of it, where he said he didn't reach out to him. I mean, you wanted the trade. I don't know if Kevin's going to reach out to you and put anything out there. Plus, I mean, good God, everybody's business is out there. So I don't know if he can trust you to not put his business out there in a text message. So if you were Kevin, I don't know if you would text him either.
Boy, trust. That is a
is that
very,
not true?
Very important word.
Is that not true?
All of this, because I think that's what happened towards the end. I think there was a lack of trust.
Baker's a very emotional man, and I don't know if you'd go, I don't like this either, Baker. I don't think I would do. You don't trust him to not say anything.
I think
Kevin's not going to say anything to anybody he doesn't trust.
I think in the end there was a mutual lack of trust between the two sides.
Probably.
That's why we always have to remind people the Browns didn't just make the playoffs and the next day say goodbye to Baker Mayfield. There was a lot of complicated stuff in between. I think there was an erosion of trust. We've always tried to remind people that, just so people remember. It wasn't just that, why did the Browns get rid of this playoff quarterback? There was so much stuff brewing behind the scenes.
And then
the Browns could not trust Baker. And then when the Deshaun Watson news got out there, Baker sure as hell could not trust the Browns organization.
And it would have been better had they had not made the worst trade in history. Had they had not done that, it might have been better. Even going back to the table and go, you know what, we had a week off. Let's cool off. Let's think about this. That would have been better than bringing in a veteran at that time to compete. Probably would have been better.
Well, we had mentioned at the time. Was it Garoppolo? Was it Carr?
Yeah.
We had mentioned a bunch of different guys that it was because we were wondering if it was reaching a conclusion.
So are you? You're obviously paying special attention this coming season to the Atlanta-Tampa Bay games, right?
Yeah, why not? I think they could be a lot of fun. This is another fun storyline for us, especially if our season with a 30-year-old head coach goes south while we're going through another quarterback competition and maybe not winning a ton of games. You got to find some other storylines around the league, right?
I don't know why they can't just see eye to eye now, just like the old former fire. What was the dinner they have over there at the Combine every year? The former Browns coaches club or something like that, which is a real thing that they have dinner at, like that St. Elmo's place. I've only been to Indianapolis one time in my life. There's like a place called St. Elmo's or some steakhouse, and they all get together and have some sort of a dinner. That's the running gag, which is apparently a real dinner.
Steakhouse.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
it's a different.
We should open up a nice steakhouse in Indianapolis, and then let them come on over here. Yes, a satellite
nice steakhouse also.
Yes. I mean, there's former Cleveland chefs that had opened up businesses and act like they've never lived in Cleveland before. Maybe you want to do something like that. But I do think it's best for Baker to just focus on his future and not his past. Considering how this last season ended, I really don't think he should be wrapped up in things that have happened 4 years ago.
Until the NFL puts him on primetime in week 1.
Well,
because it's guaranteed they're going to play each other.
Now, wait.
Twice.
If you're... I'm not saying it wouldn't be prime time of some sort. You had that tweet. Atlanta wasn't a playoff team, and neither was Tampa Bay, and it's the NFC South. Not known for the best football. Because of Baker's tweet, is that what puts it on?
I don't know. They do a lot of extra primetime games in week 1. They play on Friday night.
It feels like every team.
Brazil.
Yeah, every team gets featured.
They do a Thursday night game, which they won't be in that. It'll be the Super Bowl champ and whoever is the hardest team on their schedule. Then there'll be, a Sunday night game. There'll be a 4:25 window. There'll be 2 on Monday night. There's plenty of places to throw it.
You're not wrong. That's probably a Thursday or a Monday. I don't think that's Sunday 4:25 or Sunday 8:20.
We'll see it. I'll mark it down.
I think that's. Please do.
And
yeah.
I'll see you in May.
I don't think that's a Sunday night. I don't think that's a or a 4:25 CBS.
Just wait till it happens.
It would be Fox. Be America's Game of the Week.
Well, they bid on them now.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, it's still not 4:25 on a Sunday, which is a very big time slot now. I think it's either a Thursday or a Monday night. But yeah, maybe it because got over his tweet. Could you imagine? Because Kevin Stefanski's not going to engage in some war of words.
He will never respond to any of this. You're only going to get Baker's side. So
yeah,
in the
he's
end,
not going to. Yeah,
like Kevin doesn't even really play the leak game all that much. Over the 6 years. We were waiting, especially after he lost his job or a parting of ways, whatever you want to call it. I thought maybe we'd get a little more, but then you remembered, oh no, he's trying to get other jobs in the NFL. He's not burning any potential bridges. He has to, put together a staff of some sort.
Yes.
He was the second coach hired in the cycle. So how often does that happen, by the way? Obviously it happened with Harbaugh this year as well. Gone, hired immediately. How many coaches does that really happen to? It happens in the same cycle.
There's a lot of people. I mean, let's call it what it is. Baker's been gone for 4 years. The Browns have, with the exception of 1 year with one quarterback who's not here anymore, it's been bad. And I think a lot of people want to be proven right that they were right about Kevin Stefanski and his lack. I think that a lot of people out there this morning, when they read that tag or that tweet and hear that audio, I think that they're rooting for Baker Mayfield in that game. I think they're rooting for him. And I think that they are hoping that Baker Mayfield wins it.
Let me ask you, who had the lower approval rating going out the door? Kevin or Baker?
I would say it's Kevin who had the lower approval. Now, I love that you fight the fight against revisionist history, because there's definitely, and we've outed people on it, like there's definitely been people who have, I loved Baker. It's like, no, you didn't. You wrote on my Facebook wall 5 years ago, you did not love Baker. I have it right here. I have the one listener we have who wrote on my Facebook, Baker Mayfield effing sucks. During that, I was like, nope, got it right here. I'll do a side by side. You did. Nope. This was your opinion at that time. And there's been plenty of people like that. Plenty of people. So I think now, because it's recency, you have Kevin Stefanski, who was just shown the door by the Browns. A lot of Browns fans wanted him and Andrew Berry gone, but they got half of what they wanted. And so you don't want to be proven wrong by wanting Kevin Stefanski gone. So you're like, yeah. And there's plenty of people who, because again, it's better than what we're talking about now. So they turn out missing Baker, because even arguing whether or not he's a guy that can get us over the hump would be better than the arguments we have about the quarterbacks now. Yeah, there's plenty of people who will be watching that game and hoping Baker beats him, hoping that Tampa Bay beats him. And I still think that Baker, as long as he's focused on his future, he's been a better quarterback. Anything that he tries to focus on in his past and his personal problems with certain people and holding a grudge, it's ended up blowing up in his face. Like every time, it's ended up blowing up in his face. The personal little strifes, things like that, trying to put it on it, trying to change some narrative about him. When he just focuses on football, when he just focuses on beating the team in front of him and working with his teammates, he's great. Anytime things start to get personal, he ends up getting worked into a shoot. You know who he is? In so many ways, he reminds me of me, except much more athletic and much better at football. I'm serious. Anytime, how many times does it happen? Anytime I've let things get personal with Anthony, I come off like a nut job. And he just stands there and goes, I can't believe you're talking to me like this, Kenny. I can't believe this is going on.
It's like a daily occurrence.
It's amazing. Exactly. He reminds me of me.
No,
with him.
that Malik Willis argument was yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, got me into a fight over Malik Willis. And I sat there and I go, it's never going to happen again. Yeah, it's going to happen again. It'll probably happen in a couple hours.
We laughed. That
for
was
all I know.
That was
at 7:20.
That was nowhere on the prep sheets yesterday.
And then and it's so bad because it's you, and so it's personal. Like I tell people online all the time, listeners who try to mess with me, I go, you're not Lima. Stop trying to be Lima. And they'll go, oh, okay, you got me. Like, yeah, it ain't going to work with anybody but him. Jason a little bit. 216-474-0092. We'll get back to Baker's tweet, I'm sure. We'll go around the coaching search coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. Bob Haney going to join us, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Sal Capaccio from WGR 550 in Buffalo. Donnie Football Chedrick, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. And Mike McDaniel pulled his name yesterday. Does he highlight our dysfunction, or did he do us all a favor? That's in 5 on The Fan.
2020 Sports.
Stability you deserve with ongoing training, career growth, and a team that's got your back. Invest in yourself and apply today at jobs.mrelectric.com. Mr. Electric, where great electricians thrive.
The radio home of the NFL in Cleveland.
This penalty's declined.
We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Mike McDaniel, he says thanks, but no thanks. Looks like he's going to take the Chargers job. Is that good or bad? Does he show our dysfunction, or does he do us a favor? Albert Breer was asked basically that question yesterday on Afternoon Drive. Here's what Albert had to say.
I think this is an interesting decision by him. I think maybe there is some feeling that you aren't getting the job. He's also, I think, right in the thick of a number of these. And, I mean, to me, like, I think the one he probably winds up in is Tampa. And it could be, like, too, like, that, you know, he isn't getting the job and, you know, he wants to focus on a couple of the other ones. You know, sometimes, and I think that we've gotten to the point with these two where there are so many Zooms being done and so many of these guys are being kind of like run through the ringer. And it's like you've been doing these nonstop for a couple of weeks and you have a feeling that maybe you're not in the driver's seat for one of them. I mean, you can always go to the team and say, like, look, just level with me. If I'm not getting this, like, why don't we not waste each other's time? I've definitely heard of those sorts of scenarios playing out. Not that it did here, but I've heard of those sorts of scenarios playing out in the past as well.
That's Albert Breer yesterday, and of course that was around 5:30 yesterday. So this is before the Chargers stuff. Not going to hold that against Albert. He does a very fine job. You can hear more of that interview 923thefan.com. So there was a lot of people who took it a wrong way. There was a lot of people who tried to make up excuses, going, maybe he knew he wasn't getting the job. I mean, that's a possibility, but we can just call it what it is right now. Like I can be a Browns fan and say your reputation isn't great. And there's a lot of folks saying they're fumbling. This is a terrible, terrible coaching search. We may find out it's a terrible coaching search. Okay? But this is what I've been trying to tell you. And you don't think they're that far away, which was surprising. I heard you on Monday say that when I was out. You don't think they're that far away. I don't know why, because you look at this roster, offensively, it's bad. And you have a franchise that is desperately trying to find a soft landing out of the worst deal ever made. And they're probably on their way to a hard reset. And if you're Mike McDaniel, like, you get 2 chances to do this. You're not going to get 3. And so Mike McDaniel might have thought of it and goes, you know what? I'm going to get Justin Herbert. I'm going to get an offense that's probably going to go to the playoffs next year, build the name up, have a better opportunity going into 2027, and we can talk about it then. I don't think there's anything against Mike McDaniel. I don't hold a damn thing against him for thinking that, because I look at this situation, and whoever takes this job has a lot of work to do, and they don't know how. You get 3 years in the NFL, it seems, and you don't know if you're going to get that much time. The Browns are doing their damnedest to do it, but there's that going against you, and there's history there. I mean, good God, you made the PowerPoint for the guy who you ended up working for, who ended up leaving and going to Atlanta, then going out to San Francisco and runs that thing like he is a complete dictator.
I wouldn't also be surprised, and you didn't get any reporting behind this at all, but let's face facts here. Mike McDaniel was eagerly sought after from some really good teams to be the offensive coordinator. And I imagine they were all willing to make him one of the higher paid coordinators in the league and in a good situation. Philadelphia, according to Jeff Darlington, really went after him. The Bucks really went after him. And obviously he ends up with the Chargers, really went after him. I wouldn't be surprised if he thought, okay, I know I have these fallback jobs, but they're not going to wait forever. So is there a chance, and this is kind of how stuff works in the real world, is there a chance he looked to the Browns and said, hey, I don't have a week. I can't wait for Nate Scheelhaus.
You're absolutely right.
And so
you're absolutely right.
Not only do you got to level with me. Am I getting this job, and can I put the staff together that I want? Or are you determining who my defensive coordinator is? Mm-hmm. And then when they said, hey, we're too early in the process, he's like, okay, thanks, but no thanks. Let's not waste each other's time. Let's move on. Because when you have a chance to go to the Eagles as the offensive coordinator, or work with Justin Herbert and Harbaugh above you, like, I'm sorry. These are really, really good situations. You're not going to be put on hold by the Cleveland Browns for a head coaching job that probably some people in your life are like, don't go to Cleveland and be the head coach. Like, he might have wanted the job. I'm not saying he didn't want the job. He might have wanted the job, but he's not going to do it if it's not on his terms when he knows he's going to be sought after again.
And if you look at this situation, you have a chance to, again, build up your reputation again, get a second chance, get a fresh coat of paint on you in so many ways. I hate to borrow something from Bruce Pritchard, but they said that for years about wrestling, for crying out loud. You get a fresh coat of paint on you, and you go out there and you see what you can do with Justin Herbert, who's a good regular season quarterback. I know that now there's questions about him in the postseason. All right, well, we'll talk about that when we get there.
But he's got the tools.
Exactly.
Tua did not have the tools. He has the tools.
You will have your offensive line back in Los Angeles after they were in tatters because of injuries this last year. You should have your offensive line back. You know that Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball. You're good at scheming runs open. I mean, this seems to be a fit for you. Philadelphia might be a little bit more tenuous, might be a little bit more tough because of their situation. You don't necessarily know what's going on with Sirianni. I think Jim Harbaugh would empower him to do that. And then you brought up Tampa Bay as well. Justin Herbert, you would probably take over Baker Mayfield if you were him. Let's be serious. So if you're Mike McDaniel, I don't hold him a grudge, and I don't need some smoking gun to tell me how bad the Browns situation is. Like, Mike McDaniel doesn't encapsulate how bad the Browns situation is. Their record over the last 2 years tells you how bad the Browns situation is. The not wanting to play the quarterback that they owe $46 million to tells you how bad the Browns situation is. The wanting to trade the all-time greatest defensive player for your football team, even though his salary looks like, and his contract looks nearly untradeable, shows you how bad the Browns situation has been. It's not just based on Mike McDaniel saying, hey, thanks, but no thanks, because I think you're right. So I don't need to get on some soapbox, because I already did. After all the losses that they had this last year and the losses that they had the year before, I've been on how many soapboxes? Do I need to do it for Mike McDaniel? No, because this is the chickens coming home to roost and shows you just how bit of a difficult situation it's going to be for whoever takes over this job.
I saw people yesterday alluding to this was just another example of the dysfunction of the Browns because of the Rooney Rule situation, and I'm like, guys, they can. I hate to say it, and I hate to use the Rooney Rule as like they can scheme around the Rooney Rule. It's not hard for the Browns to get an interview with a minority candidate. There's a lot of candidates that would absolutely love to get interviewed. Even if just for the experience, right? Like this, people were saying, well, they've got caught with their pants down. Now they have to get another Rooney Rule. I'm like, well, look at what Miami did. Didn't Miami?
Well, they weren't bringing Mike McDaniel in just for the Rooney Rule.
Well, but it qualifies. It would have qualified for one. They have to interview two guys in person for the Rooney Rule. And I saw people pointing out that was their cover, that they not only interviewed
so
Mike
they can hire
McDaniel.
somebody else.
Well, no, just that it was taken care of. Now they have to get another. They have to scramble to get another interview. I'm like, it's not hard for an NFL team to interview another, because they have to wait for Shieldhouse anyway.
Well, yeah, but I disagree with them. I think you're with me on this. I think Mike McDaniel was a legitimate candidate for him.
Absolutely,
I think they definitely considered him.
I think he was a two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think they absolutely, if they felt comfortable with him, considering even with the history of 2014 and all that other stuff, I think they definitely would have hired him. I thought last week they were going to probably hire him. I predicted that. And he pulled his name out from it. Because I think that he knows that you get a second chance at this, you don't really get a third chance. And if the Chargers do well next year, there's going to be big jobs that are probably open again that might have better situations than the quarterback room that Lima and I got in a knockdown drag-out about that still isn't good, one of the worst in the NFL. And an offense that has to rebuild, and it's going to take time. You have almost no offensive linemen. You have almost no pass catchers. You have a good young tight end who we're really excited about, but that's about it. Quinshon Judkins should be back and healthy, but there's not a whole lot to work with there. There's way more to work with the LA Chargers and the LA Rams for that matter. But there's way more to work with the LA Chargers where you go, yeah, you know what? I can make this work, and I can work underneath Jim for a year, and then we'll see where it goes. And I think that everybody can accept that. And I don't need him. He's another example, but he's not the example of the struggles that the Browns have had. The examples have been every Browns Monday when I have burst blood vessels in my face over the incompetence that I've seen. 216-474-0092. I'm going to get to you guys on this. Is McDaniel pulling his name a good or a bad thing? Did he do you a favor? Was he a guy that you didn't even want? I got a very weird endorsement from a very special place yesterday. And you know what? Maybe we should just look for some stability to our friends over there on the lake. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app. Peter and Company Jewelers in Avon.
Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You can now watch The Fan live on YouTube. Catch the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima from 6 till 10 a.m. Baskin and Phelps 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. And Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin from 2 to 7 p.m. Each and every weekday. It's free. Subscribe to 92.3 The Fan on YouTube.
Pretty strong endorsement from an odd place about a guy who just pulled his name from the candidacy. More on that coming up here in a moment. By the way, guys, you can win 2-second trivia later on today. 7:45. 2-second trivia. What can they win, Owen? Can they get it? I don't want to misspeak here.
Yeah. You get Mr. Hero.
They're getting the Mr. Hero because it's a new
combo
year.
Packs, man?
They got four.
They got them.
You can win a 4-pack of combo meals from the fine folks at Mr. Hero. They got all the great stuff, and I think because Meredith's in, I'm going to get the read right because it'll be written right, not just copied and pasted.
They're bringing back cinnamon chicken or whatever it was.
All over the other place. Yeah, how about that chicken sandwich with cinnamon sugar all over it? Like, nope, that was a copy and paste mishap. But yeah, you guys
raspberry steak parfaits.
You guys can win 2-second trivia at 7:45. But you must be hanging on our every word. Like this might come up later on. You wouldn't believe who gave an endorsement to Mike McDaniel. Now, this is before he pulled his name. I was shocked yesterday. I texted you guys afterwards. I was down in Canton yesterday. My dad, he's going to be good to go, but we had a bit of a scare with Ken Sr., and he was in the hospital. And so I went to see, his girlfriend separates the peas and carrots from his noodles. He has his girlfriend separate the peas and carrots
That's
from his noodles.
painstaking work.
I go, you understand, you better be nice to her because if I did that, if I asked Liz to do that, I'd be eating it up off the floor. I couldn't believe it. And she said,
and she does it?
Oh, and she was sifting through the noodles.
I got to tell you,
and
Ken,
separating the peas and carrots.
I don't know who's more psychotic in that situation.
I could not believe
Big Kenny for wanting it done or her for doing it.
Oh, Big Ken, he's been a psycho since the day I was born, and so way before that, that's something. But her being willing to do that, that's a totally different story. That is a good-hearted woman right there. Give her credit where it's due. He found a keeper. I think Mom would be happy. Anyway, I couldn't believe he told me, he goes, I can't believe the Dolphins, because my dad's a Dolphins fan. He goes, if you guys can hire that Mike McDaniel, you need to hire that Mike McDaniel. I would look at him and go, what? Because this is a guy who grew up on Shula, for crying out loud. He goes, he got a raw deal. He goes, that Tua, he sucks. He sucks. My dad, Dad's not a football guy. He's a football fan. He's not a football guy. And he just goes, Tua sucks. I go, what? He goes, Tua put the screws to him. He should be there. Tua should be gone. It's just because they signed that contract. I couldn't believe it. He goes, Mike McDaniel, he wears those shades. He's got that cool air about him. I've watched him on the sidelines these last few years. That's not his fault. That's Tua's fault. I could not believe, because I haven't really talked Dolphins with my dad here and there, because we usually just talk Browns. I could not believe what he was saying about Mike McDaniel. I go, wow, I can't believe it. I'm going to tell a weird endorsement from down in Canton, Ohio from Mike McDaniel, and then he pulls his name out of the hat for the Browns job. And he probably thinks that Mike McDaniel's making a right decision. Yeah, Dad likes Mike McDaniel, and I wouldn't think Dad would like Mike McDaniel.
I wondered what it was there, because obviously it seemed like everybody eventually understood the quarterback wasn't good enough. But typically the coach just builds up so much over time, so many warts. If a coach is in one place, even if he won early, to sound familiar, eventually every game, every loss, it builds and builds and builds. That's why at the end, Mike Tomlin, there was like no approval rating for Mike Tomlin. Everybody wanted him out. Didn't matter what he had accomplished. Didn't matter that
Except
they won every
players,
year.
Apparently, they wanted him to stay. But
Well, Buffalo. Look at Buffalo and McDermott.
Yeah.
You couldn't find many guys saying bad things about him out the door.
No, you're right about that. 216-474-0092. I just thought it was out. So do you think that McDaniel pulling his name out of this does us a favor? Does it show how bad the Browns situation is? I don't know how much of a favorite. I remembered being, and Dad would hate to hear this, I remember being pretty nonplussed about Mike McDaniel. I'm like, they're going to take Mike McDaniel. We'll see where this goes. I really was. I didn't think he was going to get a lot of time here. Like, part of, I think, the reason why I'm intrigued by Udinski is that I don't think it's going to go very well this season. I think they have a lot of building to do. I think maybe their quarterback is probably not playing in the NFL right now. Might have just finished up another year in college. And I go, you're not going to fire a 30-year-old unless he goes out and he embarrasses himself in public personally. You're not going to fire Grant Udinski. And I want some semblance of stability. And then you go, well, Sean McDermott's out there. You want stability, you can go get stability if he is willing to accept it. So I think that might be some of my appeal to Grant Udinski. And I didn't think that Mike McDaniel was going to have very much time whatsoever. Like, I could see fans being upset with him, fans not really getting along with him and his way.
I'll be honest.
And then they win 4 or 5 games next year, and then it's like, well, he's got to go too. Andrew's going to go, and now he's got to go too.
I'll be honest, when it comes to this, it's almost not a fair fight because I've seen Mike McDaniel coach some impressive offenses given the limitations. I've seen him win games I didn't think they necessarily should have won. And so that sticks with me. I haven't seen anything from Grant Udinski. I said I'd be open-minded, but when you actually ask me, do you want this guy or this guy? For someone like me, I'm the opposite of the normal fan. The normal fan is like, well, I haven't seen Udinski fail, so I want Udinski. And I've only seen clips saying good things.
That's interesting. You want to see where the failures are and whether or not he got better at them.
But it's funny to me to see fans, they seem to be higher on Udinski now, even though they had never heard of him 3 weeks ago. They seem to be higher on Shieldhouse. They've never seen him fail. They don't know anything about him. They didn't know who he was 3 weeks ago. And so fans are looking for this moldable piece of clay, as opposed to me, where in a face-off, I'm like, Mike McDaniel can coach a football team tomorrow, and I think they would be a legitimate team. So
we don't know that about Shieldhouse or Udinski.
Yeah, those guys,
that's a hell of a
those
point.
guys might fall flat on their face immediately. I don't know. You've only seen positive clips about these guys, but who's out there filming? Hey, I'm ready to go on record about Shieldhouse right now that he's not gonna succeed. No, you can't find that because nobody would do that. Nobody's going to do that for Grant Udinski either. So you're only going to see positive things about these guys because they've had no life experience. They've had no real work experience in the NFL where they had the responsibility. Who is running the show in Jacksonville?
It would. James Gladstone. Almost said Joey Gladstone.
But who's running
the owner?
No, who's running the offense?
Oh, I'm sorry, Liam Cohen.
It's not Grant Udinski.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what he meant by it. I didn't know what he meant by it.
Who's running the show with the Rams? It's a guy that handles everything.
Aaron Spelling. I didn't know.
But we want to hire somebody who has just a fraction of the responsibility, and then here's the head coaching job for the Cleveland Browns. Easy job, right? The Browns. Like, you see where it's hard for me to just accept.
That's interesting. So if you,
even though they might be good coaches down the road, and like Albert Breer said, they just might be too early.
Well, then you should be pounding the table because it seems like they're going to be getting ready to make themselves a hell of a mistake, according to you.
Well, they are, but
you should be going right against Grant Udinski then.
But
save us from him.
But this is not a great candidate pool. Let's be honest. There have been years where, would I have loved to have Mike Vrabel? Yes, he wouldn't have wanted this job. Would I have loved to have one of the Harbaughs over the last 4 years?
Well, and
would either of them have taken this job?
I think that one of the issues that are brought up,
Sean Payton,
because you're making me think differently here, is where you would go to it and go, if you don't think that this is a great talent pool when it comes to candidates or a experienced talent pool, because you don't really know. You're right. And because I don't know him, we like a good story. We like to mold our own guy. And I just said it. I was like, well, I don't think it's going to go that well, but you're not going to fire the head coach. Well, then that becomes a Barry issue. That becomes a Barry issue where then maybe you need to talk everybody into, well, not everybody, because I think a lot of Browns fans would agree with you. If you want legitimacy at that head coach spot, would seem late to be willing to move on from Andrew, but should you be willing to move on from Andrew for a Sean McDermott? You just lost a power struggle. I'm going to use him as an example. You're a good coach. You went to the playoffs 8 years. Okay, that's a good coach. You lost a power struggle to Brandon Beane. And now, after you got canned after this, you've seen everything else that's going on where, man, that roster really ain't that good. If you're Sean McDermott or you're the Browns and you want to get Sean McDermott, maybe we need to go to the table about the possibilities of moving on from the general manager. Who do I put in, though? Who do I put in that I trust? See, these are questions. I'm just asking questions I can't answer right now.
I wonder,
I gotta say, unless it's Glenn Cook or somebody in the green folder. I wonder today,
right now, how happy is Jimmy Haslam with the coaching search? He's seen what's happening. He saw surprise jobs open up in Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and he's seen the guys we're interviewing. One of them hasn't been interviewed by anybody else. The other has been interviewed by the Ravens. Shieldhouse has been interviewed by the Ravens. But I do wonder, if already there is a little bit of regret from Jimmy Haslam about not maybe just maintaining Andrew Berry, but having him run the coaching search.
If there is regret, then you're going to ask him to do something that fans are not going to want to do, except if they want Andrew Berry out, then they're going to want to do him because they only want the owner to do the decisions they want to make. You're going to want your owner involved because then your owner's going to go in and go, we're not being able to get these candidates, and possibly that's because of you. We may need to remove you from this equation. 216-474-0092. I want to get to you guys on this when we come back. Also coming up in just over 20 minutes. According to insiders, yesterday, well, maybe it was only the first time in many days that Lima and I are going to have an argument over one certain quarterback. That's at 7:20, according to their predictions on The Fan. Northeast Factory Direct and NortheastFactoryDirect.com. Let me predict something to you. Great dining room furniture.
the offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Catch Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin live on YouTube each and every weekday from 2 to 7 p.m.
$7:20. Kevin Stefanski's getting called a snake. $7:20. Kevin's getting called a snake by the fan base. Lima, you're gonna have to get out your old folder there. We got to go over the history again.
Which fan base? Because I'm seeing a very different reaction.
Oh, I'm seeing. Social media reactions are brought to you by
Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
People I follow called him snake. I'm getting a lot of. I'm getting the text again. I got some Baker friends who text me.
I'm seeing I'm seeing the same debates that we had. How many years ago?
That's crazy. Well, I'll just say it right now. I no, Kevin's not going to text you. He's the head coach of the Browns. I don't believe that Kevin really wanted Deshaun Watson. All right? He's still the head coach of the Browns. He's not going to text you. You've went on. Let's be serious here. Now, Kevin's not going to text me things that he doesn't want me to know. He's not going to text Tone things he don't want us to know. He's not going to text family members things he doesn't want to know. He's not going to text a guy who just demanded a trade things that he doesn't want him to know because he can't trust him on whether or not he's going to put their business out there. So he's not going to text you. Hey, he could have said, if you really wanted him to, if it means that much, and apparently it does 4 years later, hey, good luck on all your future endeavors, fine. But you probably would have gotten mad about that because you take everything personally. Everything is a chip on your shoulder. And my whole opinion of it is that, yes, if Baker were still here, we'd be arguing about much better things. It would be very frustrating because we would be talking about the playoffs and failures, but we'd still be at least talking about the playoffs. So let's not lose that perspective here. I understand what we're arguing about now and what we could have been arguing had Baker stayed. And maybe Kevin thinks that, but he's not going to tell you because he's not going to tell anybody he doesn't want anybody to know. And it's that simple. So you've been on talk shows before. I mean, good God, when they drafted you, you went right on national talk shows and argued with hosts. You've made your opinion on things very, very clear. You have proven time and time again that if you feel something very strongly personally, you are going to put out information and air out dirty laundry. You've done it before. Kevin's not going to do that. He's an NFL head coach. He's not going to allow that. So, no, you weren't going to get a text after you asked for a trade. I do believe strongly that Kevin didn't really want to make the trade. Didn't want to make the trade for Deshaun Watson, but he's still the head coach of the Browns. You're on your way out to, at that time, we didn't know what team. And you didn't get tossed out like a bag of garbage. I mean, the 5th-round pick, it looks like a bag of garbage. But again, when we go back in history, hey, a lot of things led up to that. It wasn't like, as you've said many times over, Tone, it was like you made the playoffs and then they said, okay, bye, we're done with you. No, it was a very rough year after that. And I wish cooler heads would have prevailed, but it didn't, and Baker was part of the reason of that. He does share some responsibility. And I think it's been proven time and time again, Baker needs to focus on his future with Tampa Bay, not his past in Cleveland. You were a team that had a sizable lead in the NFC South. You were an MVP candidate at one point, and that all fell apart. And you can't just all blame it on any injury that Mike Evans had.
Were people under the impression that these guys loved each other after the exit? I mean, Baker is notorious for having like this enemies list.
Yeah,
that he's built over time that spans all the way back to high school.
The Nixon of the NFL.
Well, remember who is the quarterback that he was ripping into after the college quarterback?
Davis Mills.
That he was
it Mills or Webb?
That he was blasting after he was in the NFL. I'm like, well, that's
Texas. It was at Texas Tech.
That's kind of unbecoming of an NFL quarterback to be ripping a college quarterback. Like, this is who he is. He's always been that way. Now, it's also what made him Baker. It's what at times made him that fiery competitor.
Webb. It was Davis Webb at Texas Tech. Is what he accused him of going to be the ball boy, go get the bag of balls boy. Like that's what he accused of. And at that time, when he was the Browns quarterback, we ate it up. People like those stories, but after things ended the way they did, like you said it to me, I don't. There's some things that I haven't been paying attention to, and one of them was the Tampa Bay fan base where they were questioning it. Either way, yeah, I'm going to pay more attention to the Falcons and Tampa Bay games, which, hey, I haven't watched that much NFC South football, and I can't remember when. So guess what? I guess I'm going to be watching more NFC South football here. watching Baker, watching Kevin, which they have something in common. They both think probably the Browns put the boots to him in so many ways.
Oh, but also Mary Kay, people posted her column, way back when Baker was pretty out in the open, telling everybody in his orbit that, he thought Kevin put him in a terrible spot when he got sacked all those times and the 4 interceptions in the Christmas game. And, you got to go back and remember also, Baker kind of left his team high and dry when he said he was going to have surgery and then didn't have surgery for another week and a half. And so he couldn't be with the team in week 18, was another Cincinnati game or something at the end of the year. And so, guys, this had been, we're relitigating something that we all had talked about at the time.
Yeah.
There's no love lost between these two sides. It's just very, very interesting that Baker felt the need to do this on social media. He probably cannot believe that Kevin Stefanski got a job right away.
And that's the reason why Kevin wasn't texting him, because he felt, if you can't trust a guy to not run out on social media and tell everybody what you just told him, he ain't going to text him. He ain't going to make that mistake. 216-474-0092. Okay, back to the McDaniel thing. I just want to know, do you want some stability? McDaniel gone. And you've made a hell of a point here. Now, you haven't been, I got to tell you, you would usually be more strong-willed and mean about this. But you've brought up Yudinski. No track record of success, but there's nothing negative there that you can go, what did he fix? What did he need to fix? Same thing with Shieldhouse.
Because he's had no responsibility.
McDermott, we've seen the warts, and it's almost like, 8 playoff appearances ain't enough. No, I think a lot of people like Sean McDermott. But I think if we're going to have that conversation, and I'm not, by the way, you can hear me, I'm following you on some of this. Well, if Sean McDermott won't walk through that door, Harbaugh's Harbaugh. I do believe Ian O'Connor, he might have had a vision of grandeur, and I listened to the press conference yesterday, and he said that his dad watched the video with him, the tape with him, and said this team can be good, and maybe he felt that way, and he's always had a feeling about the Giants. So maybe that was just never, ever going to have a chance just because we're not the New York Giants. Okay, fine. But if it's McDermott who won't go through, or there's a lack of trust with somebody else, I think you then need to re-examine Andrew Berry and figure out whether or not that he's going to be a guy to lead you into the future while you're still in the month of January.
Well, I wonder if he talked Jimmy, because obviously there's extensive conversations that and you wonder if, Jimmy's like, are you hearing anything about the available pool of candidates?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are the hot names? Do we have a chance at any of these names? Do you think Andrew Berry told him, there's some guys that have never really done anything, but people speak really highly of them? Do you think that would have been enough for Jimmy Haslam? Because that strikes me as something that would not have been enough.
It would take an insane...
That exists every year.
It would take an insane amount of trust.
There's always a bunch of guys behind the scenes that no one's ever heard of who people feel, hey, in 5 years, that could be a head coach.
Exactly, in 5 years, not 2026 when we're trying to do something now. Because again, you've brought up the pitfalls of this. You just signed Myles Garrett to basically a lifetime deal. Like, you can trade him, but the ramifications of that, the only thing that saves you are draft picks, which means we'll see in 3 years. Like, that's how tough that is. So it would take almost an insane level of trust in Andrew Berry to do that. And you're right. Now, Keith had texted me during the break, and I thought that he had a hell of a point of it. Andrew Berry bringing in guys to interview and taking them seriously who don't have a lot of experience, who could be having so many pitfalls as new, younger head coaches, that doesn't speak like a guy who's afraid of his job. Who's afraid of his job security. And I think a lot of fans could be looking at this, and this is what, hey, I'm interested in Yudinski. I haven't seen much, and there's something there that just, it's a terrible explanation, because you would go, well, wait a minute, you want somebody you trust. McDermott, somebody you would trust. Schwartz is somebody you trust. Yeah, but you can't help but wonder, are you sitting on the next great big thing? And I'm a fan just like everybody else. So there's definitely interest there in Yudinski, but you could see yourself doing this and going, you know what, Andrew Berry ran this just like he does with the draft, where you're taking shots on guys when you could have had this one, you could have had that one, you could have had this one, you could have had that one, and then we're left with this mess. So I've left you in charge of drafts where you've been 1 out of 6, and I've left you in charge of a coaching search and you're 0 for 1. What are you still doing here? Like, you could be saying that at the end of December. And because of the roster that you already have, yeah, more than likely you could, because we'll definitely find things. If you're not winning, we will find things to pin on Grant Yudinski. We'll find plenty to plan on Nate Shieldhouse. That'll happen.
Now, the other part of this, which we'll never know, maybe this is something that gets leaked out later if, like, Shedeur ends up being really good, but is there a chance that Grant Yudinski told them everything they wanted to hear about their quarterback room? Be it Shedeur, Deshaun Watson, or Dylan Gabriel?
Does he feel that way?
Could somebody be trying to get to the top as soon as possible and, That wouldn't be the first time an interviewee
I think that would
says some really nice things about an organization.
Hey, man, if you're trying to make it up the corporate ladder, that's one thing. If you're trying to be a head coach of the NFL where your work is on display for millions of people because of television every single Sunday, you owe it to your future and to yourself and all the work you've already done. I don't care what age you are, to tell them the absolute truth of what you feel about that quarterback room. If you're just saying nice things to get a job, this is going to be a disaster unlike anything we've ever seen.
Well, what do they say in the...
And that's saying something because we've seen plenty of disasters.
What do they say in the corporate world? You can either sleep your way to the top or lie your way to the top. One or the other.
You know what they say in the show world?
Reckless speculation.
You're scaring the bejesus out of me. Don't do that again. 216-474-0092. And turns out, according to insiders, yesterday was only the first of many fights Lima and I are going to have about this quarterback in particular. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. 2-second trivia. Your chance to win a 4-pack of Mr. Hero combo meals at 7:45 on The Fan. Window
kind of similar to last year, actually, where it's a one quarterback at the top type of deal. And then, but last year we had Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. This year we don't necessarily have that. Pick number 2 is wide open in terms of who it's going to be. So I think there's a little bit of, there's an unsettled nature to this year's top 10, especially the top 6, where it won't be easy to forecast, at least at this point, where who's going to be still on the board. But knowing that this team needs a receiver, needs offensive line help, there will at least be one player at one of those 2 positions that I think will upgrade this team in their offense for not only 2026, but moving forward.
That was Dane Brugler last night on the Fan Off-Season Special. It's every Tuesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Jake Volnick, Lance Reisland, Daryl Ryder. They recap all the latest Browns news and moves ahead this offseason in free agency and, definitely, and the draft. You can listen right here, 92.3 The Fan. Stream us on the free Odyssey app. Watch every episode live on YouTube Live for absolutely, positively free. It's the Fan Off-Season Special each and every Tuesday night, 7 to 9 p.m. right here, 92.3 The Fan, 92.3thefan.com, the free Odyssey app, YouTube Live. It's all over the place. Dane Brugler, and we might be getting ready to have some arguments here. Dane Brugler was asked about the quarterback position. Now, Lima and I had a knockdown drag-out yesterday at around 8:20. If you want to go back and listen to that, 92.3thefan.com. Over one name. I don't believe it's included in this clip, but here's Dane on the draft in that position talking about QB.
Yeah, I think we can put in Sharpie Mendoza. He's going to be that number 1 overall pick. The only question is, do the Raiders love him, or would they be open to trade and doing business? And I highly doubt it. So I think that's a fair assumption. Fernando Mendoza going to Vegas at the number 1 pick, and then I think there is some debate about who's that next quarterback. I think most would say Ty Simpson from Alabama. Garrett Nussmeier from LSU, I think, is kind of the forgotten guy because the season went just completely sideways for LSU this year. But he's going to be down there in Mobile at Senior Bowl, and I think he's going to impress some people. And so I think Nussmeier on day 2, definitely a name to keep an eye on. Trinidad Chambliss from Ole Miss, we're kind of waiting and seeing what his future holds. He sued the NCAA basically saying, I deserve that extra year of eligibility. I think he's going to get it, but we know that's his priority. He wants to go back to Ole Miss for one more year. But if for whatever reason, if he is pushed into this draft class, that becomes pretty interesting because what he did down the stretch for the Rebels in the playoffs especially, beating Georgia, almost beating Miami, just a really impressive player who's not very big. He's not going to wow you with size, but the arm talent's impressive. The movements are impressive. There's a lot to like about Chambliss, and it would also help him in this class that it's just not a deep quarterback group. And so Chambliss would definitely have a shot at quarterback 2, quarterback 3.
Not a lot of fun there outside of Fernando Mendoza. So it's a 1 QB draft. And, people have argued about whether or not they think Mendoza is going to be really good. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, he had himself a poll done with, and there were other people as well, who they went with NFL execs, predictions of the 2026 season. One of them was that Malik Willis will end up with the Dolphins or Browns. A name that you and I'd rather argue about Malik Willis and Garrett Nussmeier. Boy, we've come a long way in 1 year, haven't we? I guess I'd rather argue about Malik than Garrett Nussmeier, but it says if Daniel Jones returns to the Indianapolis Colts, as many expect, Willis emerges as a possible top free agent at the position. Willis made some coin with his performance in relief of Jordan Love in the Green Bay game and showing dual threat ability that a new offensive mind could mold. Quote, I just don't think the Browns go into the season with Shedeur Sanders as their top option, an NFC personnel man said. And getting the right quarterback in the draft isn't a guarantee based on where they pick. They obviously have picks number 6 and 24. No regime will know Willis's strengths better than Miami, which just hired a brain trust of GM Eric Sullivan, or John Eric Sullivan, and head coach Jeff Hafley from Green Bay. The Packers valued Willis's development, and Miami could bear the fruits of that labor. Are you willing to get into a bidding war over the services of Malik Willis? Let's take the argument one step further.
A bidding war. No, I'm not necessarily willing to engage in a bidding war, but the Malik Willis, he is such an interesting, I got to call him a prospect. He's like a prospect because he's only started 6 games in the NFL. He was dreadful. I mean, so bad.
And I didn't even use that. I didn't use the Tennessee. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't use the Tennessee even against him.
Well, he was always a developmental guy, much like what apparently Kevin Stefanski thought about Shedeur Sanders, that he wanted to redshirt him. I mean, this was a candidate that should have been redshirted. He goes to Green Bay. He apparently, by all accounts, has been learning, developing over time, and then was thrust into 2 high-leverage situations this year. One of them on national television. Actually, both were on national television. One was at Soldier Field in bitterly cold weather, and he went toe-to-toe with Caleb Williams. And then the other was Baltimore in a game both teams absolutely needed to win, and he had a career game. So there's no doubt, like, you want to talk about recency bias. Like, yeah, if you go look at the highlights of him against Baltimore, you're like, oh, this is not only a starter. This guy could be one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
Well, of
course, it doesn't work like that. Bailey Zappi had a game against the Browns where he looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Well, you take a guy based on what he can do for you, not what he did years and years and years ago. That's why I'm not getting Aaron Rodgers because of what he did with the Packers. You got to take what they recently did. I don't want to go and yell after. I didn't use it once. I know you and I were almost at odds and fighting each other. I'm not going to use Tennessee against Malik Willis. I think that the pre-draft stuff was nuts. Not a lot of it was any of his fault whatsoever, I think. And then he got put into a position, justifiably he'd rather not be in. And I'll be open-minded. See, this is my issue. This is just the truth. We have to cipher through this and find the truth. Quote, I just don't think the Browns go into the season with Shedeur Sanders as their top option, an NFC personnel man said. This is still the belief of inside NFL people. He ain't good enough. Now, that's going to bother a lot of listeners. And Lima, you bring out your charts. I know, you're Mr. Charts now. God, there's one trend in 2026 that needs to go away. It's that. You could bring out your charts. This is people in the NFL who still don't think highly of him. And they don't believe that the Browns are going to do it. My issue is this. It's not about being part of a quote-unquote cult with me. It's about seeing something that maybe I have a higher ceiling on and not making this position worse. Guys, I've become very protectionist about this. I don't necessarily, there's no necessarily about it. I don't trust Andrew Berry with the quarterback position. I struggle to trust him with a lot of the draft picks. Now, he had a good draft this last year. I'm hoping, obviously, praying that he can have a good draft here in 2026. But there's a lot about the QB spot I can't really trust him with. And I don't want to keep trying to desperately dig us out of a terrible position with this other contract that we have at the quarterback spot that we will pay on. And we have been paying on because we only just got one of our first-round draft picks back. So this is what I'm fighting. You and I got in a big fight at Malik Willis. I regret it because I'm going, well, it's just money. It's just money. Who cares? My thing is I don't want them to make too big of an investment on somebody and then, for some odd reason, not see the forest for the trees in the 2027 class or even the 2028 class. Because the dearth of quarterbacks can't last forever, guys. So that's what I'm fighting. So if it means Shedeur Sanders starting the year, at least I'm going to have somebody fun and we can argue about. At least I have somebody I'm interested in. I have very little interest at all in the other two guys. I have interest in Shedeur Sanders, but it's not an absolute faith that it's not a faith that he's going to be our franchise guy. But I just find myself more willing to give him a chance than any of the other two guys. And a lot of the other names that we say, because I'm afraid it's too much of an investment and that it's going to waste even more of our time.
Well, then I saw somebody yesterday reached out to me and they're like, you know who Malik Willis's agent is, right? And I didn't. I looked it up and I'm like, oh, it's the same representation of Deshaun Watson. I'm like, so what does that mean? He's like, oh, he's not. That's not going to happen here. And I'm like, wait a second. So Deshaun Watson's going to prevent us from getting other quarterbacks that you might want? Like, that made no sense to me. That Deshaun Watson's already ruined so much of the Cleveland Browns and all of our lives for the last 3 years.
Well, what if you were
going to continue to allow it to?
What if you were just offering $10 million more than the Miami Dolphins were for Malik Willis? He's just going to turn that down?
Yeah. What would that be?
Like, if it's $1 million or $2, I could understand where he goes, you know what, I might be in a better situation in Miami. I'm going to take it. Now, I would fight it on it, but fine, whatever, you make your decision. But if the Browns were to come in at $50 million and the Dolphins were as most willing to be at $40 million, you're going to take the $50 million.
Yeah. Now, again, Sam Monson came on yesterday, and we talked about, the easiest thing to do would just be to run back this quarterback room. I wonder how the fan base would feel about that. that exact same quarterback room last year that the season was over, 5 weeks into the season, Joe Flacco was in there as well. Kenny Pickett, was gone. But you're willing to just do that again? Like, do you want to have a real football season or not?
Guys,
because I got to tell you, most likely that would turn into another calamitous football season. And how old is Grant Udinski again?
That's why I think that's why they're considering 30-year-olds. I think we're getting ready to not have a real regular football season. Guys, we have to face this at some point. You have to face the truth at some point. The roster is not good. On offense, it's not good, I should say. And by the time they get the offense fixed, we're going to really have to start paying attention to the defense. And defense doesn't always carry year to year. So we have to focus on this, you guys. And I'm trying to make the right investment. I'm trying, because I think we're on two separate pages. I think us and the Cleveland Browns are. I think they are trying to find a soft landing on this terrible deal that they made back in 2022. They're trying to find some way out of it that's not going to be a complete disaster, hard set rebuild. I don't know how you avoid it. Remember, why did you trade for that other pick this year? Because you thought 2026 was going to be a good quarterback draft class. There's one QB worth taking in the first round. Or you could force it with Ty Simpson, and then we stretch that out over the next 3 years. And pray that some of the foibles don't work out, and then he ends up being a good quarterback. And maybe we would have a good rookie season. Maybe we would. Probably we won't, though, and we'll have ourselves another fight about it. We are consistently trying to avoid this. I told you about this in the regular season, Anthony, is that I was being desperate because I was trying to pull the nose up on an issue that can't be pulled up. I kept trying to desperately fix something that I wasn't responsible for. The Deshaun Watson trade. I didn't want to make that trade. And honestly, you're not responsible either. You're not the one who gave the green light on it, for crying out loud. But I kept trying to desperately fix something that I didn't have a problem where I didn't create a problem with in the first place. And so if I didn't create that problem, why should I be on the hook for it? If I'm a Browns fan, and I am, I say, well, that's your guys' problem. That's not my problem. I want to do what's right by the franchise and have some sustained success. That's why I got into an argument with you about Malik Willis, because I just don't want to spin our tires on another quarterback that just might not be worth it overall. If you feel that strongly about Malik Willis, fine. But even if you feel that strongly about Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, I've got a couple of those people tweeting about.
No, you didn't.
I swear to God, I'm getting cussed out by one guy over Dylan Gabriel. All it takes is one. And so if you feel that strongly about him, fine, because I think it's as open as it can. But that's a telling quote when I read, quote, I just don't think the Browns go into the season with Shedeur Sanders as their top option. An NFC personnel man said that's somebody in the league that also still doesn't think highly of the quarterback that we have spent hours arguing over and put a lot of hope in. Let me try to get to a call real quick here. Let me get to Paul in Canton. Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing okay, Paul. Go ahead.
It's not that I don't like Malik Willis, because I actually do. But right. Green Bay had the 6th-rated offensive line. They had mid-receivers. We were dead last in offensive line, dead last in wide receivers. And our running back, Prince Jenkins, got hit behind the line more than any running back. You want to bring Malik Willis here, $50 million with Watson still on the books. I think I'd rather take my resources and put them towards our last place offensive line, our last place wide receivers, hell, our last place special teams. We take stats. Look, stats could tell you Shedeur Sanders was bad. There's other stats that show you with your eyes, hey, man, the guy came in with, no first-team reps, won 3 games out of 7. The locker room loves him, especially Myles Garrett. You just start the guy, and guess what? If he's bad, then you got another crop. At least you address those things, because if you put any quarterback, I think, behind in that situation, because statistically, he also had the worst quarterback situation in the league.
Yeah.
So you put him behind there, and you put what quarterback do you think? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson? We don't have those coming up, and they didn't even have that. Those bad situations.
And I don't think, but I really don't think that any, and Paul, let me tell you, and thank you very much for the call, because we got to get to the 2-second trivia coming up at 7:45. I don't even think my plan's a really great one, because I could say, well, Ken, why am I sitting there waiting for 2027 and 2028? We all thought 2026 was going to be a good class. It's not a good class. Do we have any guarantee that 2027 is going to be a good class? So we're going to keep waiting for what? What are we waiting for? It's the same argument you made against me yesterday. But if they're not going to go into it, You might as well. It's almost where if you're not going to go into the season with these three guys, if you, quote, just can't see the Browns going into the season with Shedeur as their top option, then maybe you need to just go for the gusto. I'm terrified. So what? I'll get over it. I don't think Malik Willis, though, is going for the gusto. Maybe there's something else out there that you can try to look after. Or, yeah, you're just going to have to go into this season, and just like a lot of other seasons, there's not going to be a lot of expectation for you. I think Browns fans are kind of used to it by now. 216-474-0092. Why do I throw out the number? Because it's time for 2-second trivia. It's cold outside. You want something hot to eat? How about 4 combo meals? A 4-pack of combo meals from the fine people at Mr. Hero. You could win a 4-pack of combo meals if you get 2 questions right within 2 seconds each. Why? Because it's time for 2-second trivia. 216-474-0092. 2-second trivia coming up in 5 on The Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here for the wonderful people at K&K Heating and Cooling.
others in victories. At KNR, we think beyond the numbers. Behind every statistic is a person who needed someone to stand up and fight or to lend a helping hand. Hurt in a car? Call KNR.
Want to talk Browns while you're at work? Baskin and Phelps, weekdays starting at 10 on 92.3 The Fan.
You have 2 seconds and only 2 seconds to win. This is 2 Second Trivia.
It is time for 2 Second Trivia and your chance to win a 4-pack of Mr. Hero combo meals. But you have to get 2 questions right within 2 seconds each. 216-474-0092. When it's cold outside, stay put and let Mr. Hero deliver your next meal with DoorDash or order online for pickup, and we'll have it ready when you walk in the door. Order online through the app or at MrHero.com. Are we ready for 2 Second Trivia, Tone?
Oh, yeah.
216-474-0092. Away we go to Peter in Brunswick, home of the Blue Devils, which I believe is also on a head coaching search for their football team.
Odds coming out shortly.
Yeah. Oh, it is it? Oh, Peter, are you ready for... Excuse me. Are you ready for 2 Second Trivia?
Let's go.
Lima, take it away.
Peter, if the season ended today, what seed would the Cleveland Cavaliers finish with in the Eastern Conference?
6 seed.
Been hovering around there for a while.
Greg in Parma, home of the Normandy Invaders. Greg, are you ready?
Good morning, Jen. Yes, I am.
Lima, take it away.
All right, can you name the passing coordinator for the Rams?
Shieldhouse.
Yes. Does it count, Mr. Judge? He says it does.
He said it correctly, so that overrides not getting the first.
Yeah, if he would have said Shalassie, we'd have to let him go. Greg, ladies and gentlemen, he is in the barn. Greg, are you ready for your chance to win 2 Second Trivia?
Let's get it going, guys.
Lima, check it away.
Can you name one of the 2 baseball players to be enshrined in Cooperstown this summer?
Cal Ripken Jr.
I mean, he will be enshrined there. He's already been enshrined.
You got to be careful, Tone. You know, it's a football town.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, there is one person outside there saying that we might be too focused on football.
Wow.
That coming up at 8:20. That's called a tease, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan in Northfield, where every 19 minutes the place goes crazy. He's next up. Dan, are you ready?
I'm ready, man.
Lima, take it away.
How many career playoff wins does Baker Mayfield have?
3.
He wishes.
Oh, Lima might have just given it away. Kevin in Avon Lake, home of the fighting Owen Lottomans. Kevin, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Lima, take it away.
Which Cavalier has started 40 of their 44 games this season, the most on the team?
Kurt Allen.
In other years, the Iron Man guess would have been good.
Justin in Seven Hills, home of, again, I believe, the Normandy Invaders. Justin, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Lima, take it away.
Can you name the losing head coach in Monday's national championship football game?
Catch the ball, cut the ball.
I say yes. I say Owen.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, come
on.
We're in a giving mood. It's
My
January.
voice broke, so I can't even say anything.
Wow.
Okay,
Don't worry.
fine, Justin. You are in the barn.
Baby.
You are in the barn, Justin. Are you ready?
Yep.
Lima, check it away.
Since you watched the game, Indiana football's offensive coordinator has the same exact name of a 3-time Super Bowl winning NFL coach. Can you name him?
Jimmy Johnson.
It's one of the all-time weird oddities in football that these 2 guys share the same name.
He didn't win 3 Super Bowls.
2 as a head coach, 1 as a offensive coordinator. I had to look that up.
Gabe in Ashtabula. Gabe, good morning.
Good morning. Let's take it away.
Home of the Lakeside Dragons, by the way. Lima, That's my line, not yours, Gabe. Lima, take it away.
Who was the starlet of stage and screen that was shown on the ESPN national TV broadcast of the national title football game?
Oh, that's Sean Diddy Combs.
Did they show him?
I don't believe he was in the stadium.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Devon in Northfield, home of the Nordonia Knights. Devon? Devon, are you ready?
I am ready.
Lima, take it away.
Who is the Jaguars' current offensive coordinator?
I have no idea.
This coaching search is going swimmingly.
Ted and Lorraine, home of the Titans. Lima, wait a minute. Ted, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Lima, take it away.
John Mellencamp performing at Blossom July 21st. Who's his favorite college football team?
I don't know.
Come on. Just got done talking about him. Matt and Wycliffe, home of the Blue Devils. Matt, are you ready?
I am ready. Lima, take it away.
It's my line.
I like it.
Stop taking away my line. Fine, go.
How many interceptions did Baker Mayfield humiliatingly throw on Christmas night in 2021?
3.
He wishes. That would have been good.
They would have won that game.
They would have won.
Michael in Akron, home of the Bookville Griffins. Michael, are you ready?
I'm ready, Lima. Take it away. Let's go.
We don't even need Ken anymore.
See ya, Ken.
See, it's like AI's taking all the jobs. Our callers are taking all the jobs. Who is the defensive coordinator for the Chargers?
I don't know.
This head coaching search is going swimmingly well.
I didn't even correct him. I'm just a 2-second trivia cuck. Dom in Brooklyn Heights, home of the Hurricanes? Or no, might be Rhodes Rams. Wait, might be home of the Hurricanes.
We're good.
What are we at?
Ken, it's okay.
All right, Dom, are you ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready, baby.
Lima, take it away.
Who was the winning coach in Monday's college football national championship game?
That's Mr. Kurt Sigetti.
Yes.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Dom is in the barn. Dom, are you ready for your chance to eat some Mr. Hero?
Let me in the barn.
He is in the barn. Lima, take it away.
Who helped build the famous PowerPoint presentation for Kyle Shanahan to exit the Cleveland Browns?
That's Mr. McDaniel, Mike McDaniel.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner, Dom in Brooklyn Heights. Congratulations.
Dom sounds like Gary Danielson, who just called his final college football game.
That does not sound like Gary Danielson.
Mr. Hero.
Should we cut him off the way CBS cut off Gary Danielson? All right, Dom, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm cutting you off just like they did Gary Danielson. That's line 6, Meredith. Dom in Brooklyn Heights.
So
he is your winner. Congratulations, folks. When it's cold outside, stay put and let Mr. Hero deliver your next meal with DoorDash, or order online and pick it up, and we're going to have it ready for you when you walk in the door. That's how good Mr. Hero is. Order online through the app or at MrHero.com. Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, Bob Haney, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore, Sal Capaccio, WGR 550 in Buffalo, and Donnie Football Chedrick, 93.7 The Fan, KDKA TV in Pittsburgh. We go around the coaching search next on The Fan.
Anthony Lima, 4 Van score.
This head coaching search is being talked about, and the way people just can't say the words, I don't know.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Guests appear on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. We got 3 of them right now as we go around the coaching search. And the first stop, Bob Haney, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Bob, first off, what did you think of that John Harbaugh press conference yesterday?
I thought it was awesome. He very presidential, the way he looked up there at the podium with the red tie and the blue blazer and the American flag on the lapel. I was waiting for 1,000 points of light and stay the course and all of this, but I saw the one clip where he said football 5,000 times. We want people that love football. If you love football, you're going to be on this football team because we love football and football and football. He was very Harbsy in his presentation to the New York media yesterday.
I mean, how much of this has been kind of rarefied air for Baltimore? This is something Cleveland goes through all the time, and now you guys have to go through it, something that you probably didn't know the next time you'd actually have to go through this.
Well, it's an exciting time for a lot of Ravens fans, and for myself included, because of the uncertainty. When the Ravens hired John Harbaugh, nobody knew who he was. Jason Garrett was the front runner for that job, and he backed out, and then John Harbaugh came in and had 18 years of success. And, you've seen what he's done, Super Bowl, 4 championship games, et cetera, et cetera. So the unknown, it's curious and exciting, because as long as Lamar Jackson's your quarterback, you have a very good chance of winning more often than you lose. Derrick Henry's still a quality running back. Hamilton's one of the best safeties in football. So there's still some pieces to work with. Question is, do they go with a defensive mind like a Jesse Minter, who's going to get a second interview? Joe Brady's going to get a second interview. An offensive guy, Clint Kubiak, apparently in Seattle, they're going to interview him twice. So do you go offense or defense? And then it'll be up to the coach to figure out what his coaching staff will be.
Bob Haney, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Have you said who you exactly want right now?
I'm going Clint Kubiak. And Gary Kubiak was here in 2014 when the Ravens made the playoffs that year with Flacco and Justin Forsett and all of these guys, Steve Smith. So the connection is there. Kubiak, look, Sam Darnold, he's not all that great, I guess, in totality if you look at his career. But this year he's had moments of brilliance and made some big throws against San Francisco this past weekend in the divisional round. I like the offensive mind and the football lineage that he brings to the equation. So I would lean towards him and then trust that he would hire someone to run his defense who would be an upgrade over Zach Gore, with all due respect to Zach Gore.
Why not Clay Kubiak? Interesting.
I don't know who Clay Kubiak is. Is he the Shemp of the Kubiak family?
That's amazing. It's always a Shemp. There is always a Shemp
reference.
Who the hell does Lamar Jackson want? And does the offense need to change
dramatically? Does he get a seat at the table as well? Does he get a chance to give his input on who he wants?
Well, Steve Bisciotti met with the media last week, him and Eric DaCosta, and he said that Lamar's input is welcomed, but at the end of the day, he's the boss. He has all the power. He'll make the decision. He's not going to leave it up to the players to decide who the head coach will be. And Lamar Jackson, since his post-game press conference when they lost to the Steelers in the season finale, nobody's heard from him. A couple of social media posts about things other than, John. He hasn't mentioned John Harbaugh at all. So who knows what Lamar Jackson wants to do, but Steve Bisciotti did say that he spoke with Lamar, and Lamar would fly up, and Bisciotti would put him on his private jet to fly him up here to get his input.
Thoughts on the ESPN poll where they went to several insiders and several executives, and one of the predictions was that the Ravens trade Lamar Jackson to the Raiders?
I'm not buying that at all. Steve Bisciotti made it very clear last week that Lamar Jackson's the quarterback. The first order of business with him is to renegotiate his deal because his cap hit $74.5 billion this year. They're going to need some extra dough. to manipulate the roster, I would be floored beyond belief. Mike Tyson, George Foreman combination power knockout if that sort of thing happened.
Which side do you take, Baker Mayfield's or Kevin Stefanski's?
Oh, man.
Did you see the tweet last night by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure.
I did. We're Baker Mayfield. They're criticizing Mayfield basically for being substandard, and he pointed out they went to the playoffs and what Stefanski hasn't reached out to him in the years since Baker left. Man. What did Stefanski say? That there was never a response there, I guess?
He's never going to say anything. You know that.
Now, then I'll take Baker's side.
Wow.
Because he seems like a guy that's a straight shooter and tells it like it is. Very active on social media, obviously.
Tough talking Bob Haney, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. We now go to Buffalo. Sal Capaccio, WGR 550 in Buffalo. Sal, who do you want for the Bills?
It's a good question. It's got to be, I think, a offensive-minded coach, or it doesn't have to be if you're going to bring somebody in who's won a Super Bowl. But I think that's tough. It's tough to find because you can't bring in a guy who's had cracks at it but hasn't won, and then, why would you have gotten rid of Sean McDermott then, if that makes sense? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, we just asked our Baltimore correspondent, so same question applies to you in your situation. Josh Allen, seat at the table?
Yeah, I think Josh will have a say. I don't think that he's making the decision, but no doubt about it, he's the most important person in the organization, and he should be. He's going to be 30, making $55 million a year. I think he has to be at least comfortable. He doesn't have to drive the decision, but he's got to be comfortable with the person. And that being said, I think Brian Daboll gets a serious look here, obviously. Josh had his best years, arguably, under Brian. Daboll had his best years as a coach, arguably, with Josh Allen as an OC. So I think that's one, but I'm sure there's other names that'll come up. Clint Kubiak is a guy that people have talked about, but I think Josh has to be comfortable with the hire.
Are you comfortable with Brandon Beane and his promotion to the president of football operations / general manager?
Yeah, I'm not out with the pitchforks like everybody else. I think comfortable with the promotion, probably not right now. But I didn't need Brandon Beane gone as the GM. I think it's hard to assemble an incredible roster. Everybody wants that. They want all pros at positions, as you guys know, from a fan standpoint. But you don't win 12, 13 games a year by having a bad roster. It can't all be Josh Allen all the time. I think Brandon Beane's done a lot of good things. There are some shortcomings, but I don't think now is the time to retool the entire front office and coaching staff, and you just let go of the coach.
What would the Browns have to do, or what would the Browns have to guarantee maybe to Sean McDermott to get him to be the head coach of the Browns?
Sean McDermott in Cleveland, is that what you're asking me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, what would the Browns have to guarantee Sean McDermott to get him to be the head coach of the Browns?
Yeah, I don't think they have to guarantee anything other than him having a say in the roster build in some capacity. I think I can't believe it's all Brandon Beane. I don't think that at all. I think Sean McDermott had some say in it, but at the same time, the GM's going to have the final call. So I've always thought Sean, since this all happened, would be a very good fit in Cleveland. Cleveland reminds me of when Sean took over in Buffalo in 2017. They have some quarterback questions. We know that. They haven't been, winning for a while. We know that, just like in Buffalo. And he came in and really established a great culture. And I think he did a great job to kind of steer that ship in the right direction. And then, obviously, you got a great quarterback, and then the rest took off.
Whose side do you take, Baker Mayfield's or Kevin Stefanski's?
I'm a Baker Mayfield fan, so I'll take Baker Mayfield's side just because he's Baker Mayfield. So I don't exactly know what went down. He can be a little, he just shoots from the hip, and that's fine. But I've always been a Baker Mayfield fan, and I like the juiciness of the NFL like that sometimes.
All right, Sal Capaccio, WGR 550, up in Buffalo, on his side on the Bills. But by the way, that's 2 out of 2.
I know.
Taking Baker's side. That's interesting. Donnie Football Chedrick, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. Who do you want for the Steelers?
Chris Shula.
Well, is that like the only name you guys are going to talk to or anything like that? None of it seems to be serious other than Chris Shula.
I mean, they had an in-person interview with Mike McCarthy, lovable Pittsburgh boy, yesterday. They had an in-person second interview with Brian Flores, who was on the staff for 1 year. So, I mean, it seems like the fan sentiment and the radio host sentiment is more about Shula than maybe what the team is right now. But then again, the guy is still hard at work.
When you look at the available pool of candidates and the names that you've been talking about already with the interviews, does it seem like the Tomlin divorce came with or without a plan?
I don't know if I'd say if it came without a plan, but I will say this. It seems like it caught everybody in the front office off guard. Based on what Art Rooney said last week, Wednesday after Mike Tomlin stepped away, was that he was fully expecting Mike to come in Tuesday morning after the wild card loss, and Art was going to talk about running it back for at least another year, and by his account, Mike telling him that he was done caught him completely off guard. So I guess in that way you could say they went in without a plan because they didn't have any idea this was happening.
What name would the Browns hire that you would go, oh, I guess we take them seriously now?
Oh, that's a good question. Obviously, I like both of the Rams guys if they pulled in either of those guys. I like Jesse Minter. I don't know how serious the Browns have been with him. Another name that the Steelers haven't talked to at all, and I guess there's something with the CBA that they missed their first window if they were even interested in this guy. Not Clay Kubiak, but Clint Kubiak, who's with Seattle. He was atop my wish list once the Tomlin news happened, and the Steelers have shown no interest. I don't know about the Browns, but yeah, those are 3 or 4 names that would worry me.
Who is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback next year?
Ooh.
That's an even better question than who the head coach is going to be. I have zero interest in running it back with Aaron Rodgers. I'm about to the point where you just let Willie Howard take a chance at it because it's either going to be that or, again, somebody out of free agency, and there's really not a great pool there. The only other guy I would think of would be Malik Willis.
Malik Willis, Kenny. That sets up a great question.
This is getting crazy.
Would you rather have Malik Willis or face him twice a year? Wow, Donnie, thank you for the content.
Well, clearly, if you put that guy with the right coach, I don't want to face him twice a year. When he played the Ravens in that Saturday night game, he looked like one of the best quarterbacks in football. And really, anytime he filled in for Jordan Love and he had LaFleur helping him along, he looked pretty damn good to me. And he looked like a guy who couldn't throw a forward pass when he was in Tennessee. So if you pair him with some dude who has a sleek offensive mind, I don't want any part of that.
Whose side do you take, Baker Mayfield's or Kevin Stefanski's?
Oh, that's a good one. I also think we need more of this. We need more chippy bad blood in the NFL. Everybody's too friendly with each other anymore. I'd probably lean on Baker's side. I've been more of a Baker guy than anybody with the Browns, although I think Stefanski got a raw deal at the same time. But Stefanski hated the Watson trade, didn't he? Or am I misremembering
There's
that?
rumors that he wasn't a fan of it. Personally, I don't think he wanted to make the trade.
Okay, yeah. So, in that case, I don't know why Baker takes a shot at him, but nonetheless, I think it's good for the drama of the NFL.
Okay, fine. Donnie Football, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. And that is Around the Coaching Search. Bob Haney, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore, took Baker's side. Sal Capaccio, WGR 550 in Buffalo, took Baker's side. Also, Brian Daboll is who we wanted as their head coach. They had a good history there with Josh Allen.
That's like Buffalo's talking to Anthony Lynn.
Donnie Football, Chedrick, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. Chris Shula just feels like, what are them sticks you use to find water in the ground? Divining rods. It's like the divining rods just went to Chris Shula, and that's the guy who's going to be their head coach. Like nobody else. Just Chris Shula, he's going to be the guy. Why? It's just what fate decided. All three took Baker's side. Okay, more on that. And maybe we're too intense of a football town for a head coach. I'm very serious about that. That was bandied about yesterday. I'll tell you by a respected insider who it was coming up in 5 minutes on The Fan.
Anthony Lima.
An exhilarating journey tailored for you. Experience state-of-the-art gaming, world-class dining, live harness racing, and see the biggest stars in our concert-style music hall. Find your fun at MGM Northfield Park. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
In your weeknight with the best segments of the day. The Fan Rewind. Weeknights at 11.
Turns out we might be too much of an intense football town for some head coaches. Now, is that a Cleveland media fault or is that a Cleveland fan fault? Well, let's hear Albert Breer yesterday on Afternoon Drive with his talk about the fit of Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta, and he had a very interesting answer here.
For him, at least, I think it was about finding fit and like coming from Cleveland, I think the idea of going to a place where it'd be like a calmer environment and he'd be insulated a little bit and he could just coach football was important to him. I think Atlanta will afford him the chance to do that. To you guys' credit, right? Because I think Cleveland's one of the best football markets in America. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on the radio with you guys. It's a better football market than any of the markets in the Northeast. I'll tell you that. Just based on the history of the game and the knowledge of the fans there and everything else. I do think that the intensity of being there, after you go through that and what that was and what that meant for Kevin over the last few years, going to a place that might be a little bit calmed down, and where every play isn't going to be dissected, it's the winning throw of the Super Bowl, probably will be a little bit of a breath of fresh air for him as well.
I think he's totally right. More on that, 923thefan.com. I think he's completely 100% correct.
Do we take football too seriously here?
We take it very... I have the day off on... Did I tell you what I'm doing on Friday? I have the day off.
Go ahead.
And I took it... Originally, I was supposed to have Monday off. Or originally, I was supposed to work Monday, and then, Dad got sick, so I had to go down there. Which he's... Hopefully will get out today. I'm taking Friday off because he goes, well, what day, if you're going to work on MLK, what day do you want off? And I said, Friday, January 23rd. You know what I'm doing on Friday, January 23rd?
What's that, Kenny?
Online Glazer Clinic.
Which is?
It's a coach's clinic that's online that you could sign up for. And I go, well, I know what I'm doing on Friday. And they have all these different things, these 45-minute sessions that you can watch. These are big deals. You have to go. They used to have it in Aurora. And it was like this big thing where they would go. And I finally was like, hey, they were like, you want to come with us? I was like, yeah. And then they switched it to Pittsburgh. And they're like, you want to come with us still? I'm like, I can't travel to Pittsburgh. My kids are little. So I couldn't do that. And now they have online ones, and I'm really excited. They have all types of different things for it. It's going to be amazing. I'll get you the rundown tomorrow what I'm going to be watching.
Do you have to check into different rooms?
You got to check into different rooms, and then you watch them, and then I'm going to put them all into practice, hopefully, because I'm a nut job, and I want to know football even better. See, that's what football guys do with their days off. I can't speak for everybody else on the fan. I can't. Owen would do it, but Owen's retired. Owen's a retired football coach now.
We got to come in with what the different symposiums are. Is one of them, do we go for 2 or 1 if we're down 15?
Do you guys think that the hosts at 92.9 The Game or any of Andy's hosts over on his station are taking the day off on Friday to go to an online Glazer football clinic? Do you think any of them are doing that?
What about the put-em-up Dukes?
Any of those fakes over there in Pittsburgh who act like they know football are going to online Glazer clinics? Okay, maybe Doran Dickerson. But other than him, you think any of them are doing it? No. There's me, maybe Doran. Dave Logan already knows all the football there is to be known, so he doesn't need to go to them. He's got all the trophies on the wall. He's got pelts. He's got pelts on the wall in Colorado, so he doesn't have to go to them. There's us 3 guys. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's what I'm doing on Friday. And guys, I'm counting it down. I cannot wait. And then Saturday, it's Friday afternoon and then Saturday morning. So I'm going to wake up on Saturday morning and I get to watch more football clinics. I cannot wait. I'm going to be sitting in my office, nice cup of coffee. It's going to be awesome.
Do you think one of the classes
taking notes
is defer or take the ball?
Oh, I'm sure there's at least 30 minutes on the deferring and what direction the wind is coming from.
It's not that. It's different techniques. I got to find the list of the things I signed up for. It's different techniques of the spread offense.
Sure you didn't think online Glazer Clinic was just where you learn how to glaze donuts?
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll find out. Yep. Thank you for registering. All about the Glazer Clinics. I cannot wait.
How much are you on the hook for?
It's free.
Oh, I thought maybe.
I encourage all you guys.
Do you have to present
Unpaid
your
testimony.
USA football card?
Oh, they already know. Hey, come on. I'm a football guy.
I thought you'd have to get reimbursed or something through the company.
I already know.
I mean, this is what, but so it brings us to the central question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was bragging about being a football guy. I forgot the whole thing.
We're a better football town because Ken goes to an online coaches clinic.
Yes.
That's why when you guys sit there and go, Ken's wrong. No, I go to Glazer Clinic, so I'm right and you're wrong.
So we have,
thank you very
in
much.
the past, we have absolutely in Cleveland taken pride in the fact that we take the
very
NFL
seriously.
very, very seriously. All football, by the way. I mean, high school, college, NFL, we take it all seriously. But we have even talked about how in the South, when we had Abe Gordon on, I'm like, do you guys even care about this or the national championship or because there's no SEC teams? Because in the South, they would wave the flag about the SEC in college football, while we think we monitor the NFL a lot closer than some other markets. You know, and we'd throw Pittsburgh in there as well. There's obviously, but, you know, like in Carolina. How big, you could ask Nick Wilson, how big truly is the NFL? Like if there's a big NASCAR race going up against it that week.
No, it's not like that. I don't think Why are you being so stereotypical?
I'm not.
Lima.
What's the new cigarette coming out?
The
I don't
Food
know what
City
they like there.
500 does not supersede the Super Bowl, okay?
I heard Levi Garrett's got a super leaf through.
Get
It's a
out
big
of here.
college basketball transfer.
Listen, you're right. And you could say, like, some people would take it as a backhanded compliment because, Atlanta's a bigger city. But no, it's true. Football, it puts you in a bubble because the Browns are the biggest thing here. And I think it puts you even under a closer microscope where Ohio State's one of the best football programs in the country. Okay, one of the top 3 football programs in the country, and they're wildly successful every year. And they hold that team. You think about the conversations a Browns fan has on a Saturday compared to a Sunday, and where there are people who literally they said Ryan Day's the wrong guy. I don't care what he did last year. He deserves to be fired after what happened. They were saying that after they lost to Miami. And like 48 hours later, we're saying that after they lost to Miami. Here, the same people will go, well, if we can win 6 games this year, maybe we can win. Like it's a different thing, but then it creates a different aspect of frustration because you have one program that doesn't lose. And if they lose one game, the world comes to an end. This one, I mean, we're struggling to just get off our ass over these 26 years. And it's put more pressure on it because guys my age, you listen to ghost stories and how dominating they used to be. And and I hate to say it, it's a bygone era. And we're losing guys from that era. So now it's, what are you going to take away from it? So I think it puts a lot of pressure on whoever gets the job here. This is not the biggest city in America. And we're very proud of the city, but if you're the biggest thing going in a mid-sized city, you might as well be back in high school again. I mean, I told you, I had a conversation with a Browns rookie this year. He could not believe the amount of people who recognized him going to pick up a prescription. And it's like, yeah, you play for the Browns. It probably wouldn't happen that way if you played for the Guardians or the Cavs. But you play for the Browns, and they know everything about you. It's that type of town. We take it very seriously here. And it's not it. And I would say if you're an NFL football coach, you've probably made this business your life. I don't think you should be afraid of it. So that part of it, it's like, okay, maybe Kevin doesn't have to deal with being in a fishbowl anymore. But it's like, hey, man, you've dedicated your life to the game of football.
Like, let me ask you this.
It should probably excite you to be around a bunch of football fans that have really dedicated themselves to knowing football and loving football.
I'll even leave the Deshaun Watson and whether or not they were booing or cheering him off the field, what the reaction was when he got injured. But how many NFL fan bases are booing Dylan Gabriel when he comes in for a spot duty when the starting QB goes off the field? And I don't mean that as like, oh, Cleveland fans don't know. Like this is about how emotional our fan base is right now. I don't think that's happening anywhere else. I don't think fans are booing Dylan Gabriel running on for one play in his rookie year a third-round draft pick. I just don't think that happens in the NFL. I think that only happens here, and I think it's a byproduct of so much torment, so much animosity towards the team, so much resentment for what is being said about the Browns nationally, locally, how they're covered. I think it's all a perfect storm, and I do think that does make it tougher here.
I agree with you.
You almost have to get off to a great start right away to try, and that's what the 2020 Baker Mayfield and Stefanski, that's what they were able to do. I just think it's a very tough spot right now because we are emotionally fragile. Our psyche, our collective psyche for this football team.
Well, because now we've tasted it. We've tasted what the playoffs are like. We've tasted what decent quarterbacking is. I mean, you and I are basically on the same page about the Baker tweet. Like, there's a lot of people going back. It's like, no. Go look back at your own timelines and what you were sending back in 2021 before you start going after this. But I also believe that has made us crazier. And we are desperately trying to get back there. And with every move the Browns make, it's more frustrating because every move they make seems to take us further away from it. And some of the stuff just doesn't make sense. And so, fans are going to be very frustrated out of it. And I don't think there will be a time, I really don't think there will be a time where people won't care about the Browns or football as much. I just think that this thing has to get fixed. But I do think it's a personality trait of most northern cities. I mean, the city of Miami, they care about football. They care about football. Do they care about the Dolphins like we care about the Browns? No. The city of Philadelphia, they care about the Eagles. The city of Pittsburgh really cares about the Steelers. Obviously, Detroit and Buffalo really care about them. The Falcons, Georgia, America loves football. So does Georgia in high school and everywhere else. Do they care about the Falcons the same way they care about the Eagles, the Browns, the Steelers? No. It's a different animal up here. And I do believe, and I put Pittsburgh in this mix. Some people hate to hear it. In Western PA, in Northeast Ohio, it's a totally different animal and a totally different breed. And it's a 24-hour, 12-month-a-year thing for a lot of folks out there. And if it wasn't, trust me on this, we wouldn't spend 90% of our time talking about the Browns. If it were different, we'd do it differently. Coming up next, Lima, we always want to bring on guests that contribute to the show. By the way, we're bringing on Danny Cunningham coming up at 9 o'clock. Are we actually overreacting to the Cavs' struggles considering the rest of the East? I want to ask Danny that question coming up at 9 o'clock. But we love to bring on guests that contribute to the show. It's not just a break. Donnie Football gave you a hell of a question about the future of the Browns quarterback and whether you want him or you want to play against him twice a year. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on The Fan.
I've been talking about Ryan Young's guaranteed offer now. rather face him twice a year?
Clearly, if you put that guy with the right coach, I don't want to face him twice a year. When he played the Ravens in that Saturday night game, he looked like one of the best quarterbacks in football. And really, anytime he filled in for Jordan Love and he had LaFleur helping him along, he looked pretty damn good to me. And he looked like a guy who couldn't throw a forward pass when he was in Tennessee. So if you pair him with some dude who has a sleek offensive mind, I don't want any part of that.
That's Donnie Football during Around the Coaching Search on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. Now we got Danny Cunningham from Cleveland Magazine, his Substack, The Inside Shot, also 92.3 The Fan, coming up at 9 o'clock. We'll talk Cavs with him. But Donnie led us to a great question. Lima, you go ahead, you ask.
Yeah.
Because it's a hell of a question.
Yeah, I mean, he's a free agent. It's just money. It's been rumored that he could get $25 million a year for the next 2 years. He had that incredible Baltimore game. I tweeted out the highlights. I mean, he looks unbelievable. It's one game, but it was a big one, and it was cold weathered, and it was against the Baltimore Ravens, who needed that game, and he shined. He had over 375 total yards, I think, because the guy, he's built like a running back, and I mean, he's got a lot of running in him. He can do all that stuff, and he's come along a little bit, at least for what we've seen. He's come along as a passer. Would you rather Malik Willis be the Browns quarterback next year, or would you rather face him twice a year?
Do I dare let the Steelers' interest in Malik Willis change my opinion? What's that say about how crazy this football team has made me? If I'm willing to get into a knockdown drag out with you, which, by the way, I don't think I was actually against Malik Willis all the way. I think I was just mad.
No, you didn't say it. You just talked about level of desperation.
Yes, you had mentioned something else, by the way, that was outrageous that I might want to bring up at another time, but it's definitely going to bog down this conversation about where Shador played in terms of other Browns quarterbacks. But Malik Willis, do I hear about the Steelers and all of a sudden want him? I don't know. I've had worse plans, haven't I? Would I rather him play for my team and play? This is where it is. If it doesn't cost me draft picks and it just costs me money, fine. You know what? You win. I'll take Malik Willis. Fine. It's not a competition anymore. I don't know what you do with Shador. I don't know what I'm going to do with all this potato salad. I don't know what you do with Shador. I don't know then. Maybe Shador stays and Dylan Gabriel goes. I don't know. He's a third-round pick. Quarterbacks are supposed to be currency. I don't know what I'm going to get out of the guy. I don't know what the hell to do anymore. This sucks. This whole thing sucks. I mean, sitting here going over Malik Willis. I'm just in a back alley of football right now, looking for scraps.
And without a doubt, this is one of the rare situations. People compared it to Matt Flynn, right? Years ago, which obviously that did not work out as well. It's tough when a guy is a project and is playing behind an absolute franchise quarterback like he was in. And it's tough to evaluate that. Well, how do you evaluate that? Who could even do that?
Well, listen, if
he's
it just
played
costs,
so little,
I'm coming around for it, because if it just costs money, what's money? Picks are different. I need picks. My offense is terrible. I need picks. I gotta. Yeah, we can start talking about the guy drafted him. Fine, I don't care. Whatever. I do care, but we don't have time for it right now. I need all the picks I can get. I have to replace these guys on offense. All these other things I need to do. If it just costs me money, he's a better scenario than the other ones that are going to cost me picks. I mean, first off, you got Mac Jones, who plays for the San Francisco 49ers. I like Mac Jones. Where's he at? He's at San Francisco.
Yeah.
Who's his coach? That guy ain't going to work with us. He's not going to work with us, or he's going to make it so prohibitive on picks that it's going to be hard to say yes to that. And then I got to turn around, because I probably have given up so many picks, I got to pay him. So that means he's my quarterback for the next umpteen years. Is he that much of an investment over everything I've already been through? Maybe some people feel very passionately about that, but again, I need the picks to be able to help him out. So now I'm just looking at free quarterbacks. Free meaning I don't care about the money. I only care about the picks. Free quarterback is Malik Willis. If the Steelers are that interested in Malik Willis, yeah, it makes me more interested in Malik Willis, because the Steelers have been a better franchise than us for so long. So, yeah, it does change my opinion a little bit more. I hate to be that.
Although Pittsburgh hasn't exactly
shallow, but
they also went after Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and they've started Mitch Trubisky. So they haven't exactly knocked the quarterback position out of the park.
But somehow they've found a way to be over 500. Can I find a way to be over 500 without some great quarterback
It's
play?
very interesting because I feel like we've had better defensive personnel the last few years.
Yes, we have. We have had better defensive personnel. We've had one of the better defenses in the NFL. Top 4 defense 2 out of the last 3 years.
But they've had Tomlin. And they don't have him anymore.
Oh, my God. He's a but I tell you, if you give him $50 million over 2 years, there's no competition. He's just your starter. If they use the word competition, you think I've had blood vessels burst in my eyes before. You wait until they use the term competition. That'll be a rich one because there's no competition. That would just be a flat out farce. You give him $50 million for 2 years to have a competition? No, he's your guy going in. Even if you want to call it a competition, he's your leader in the clubhouse. So all the fights we've had about Shador are for naught. Any of the fights we've had about Dylan Gabriel, which we haven't had many fights about Dylan Gabriel, but I mean, whatever. Those are for naught. Deshaun can have more of his workout videos and whatever Deshaun does so he can get out of the contract. That's fine. Fine. Sign me up for Malik Willis. 216-474-0092. Go Browns. Go Browns. There's no way you're not fighting me on any. There we go.
Look, no matter what, any of the guys that we are discussing, whether it's coach or quarterback,
need this music.
If you're looking for a guarantee, that's just not available. What guaranteed quarterback and or coach is there right now for the Browns given their situation? No matter what you do, including just running it back with your quarterback room, all of it is equally up in the air and risky. All of it.
Just listen to Michael. Listen to Michael. Don't listen to Anthony.
Go again. I said, here we go again.
It's Malik Willis on 1st and 10. So get on your feet. This song can talk me into anything. Divorce your wife. Leave your family high and dry. Can't hit the road. Talk me into anything, this song.
Got a new fridge.
Got a new fridge? Yeah, that's right. New fridge came today. Got a new fridge. Get a new fridge. Yeah, you can do that. You knock on the window and it shows you what's inside.
As opposed to having to go through the grueling, painstaking effort of curling your fingers around the handle and then having to put force behind
it helps
pulling
save
it.
the fridge hinges, which is a big deal.
This is all,
good luck finding a repairman who's going to be able to come out when you need him to fix it.
People make your jokes. I think there's some people with the Milwaukee Police Department who wish that Jeffrey Dahmer had a see-through fridge, okay? All right, make your jokes.
Is that a head of lettuce? Do I have to squint?
Oh, that's a head of David.
Malik Willis, 216-474-0092. It's January 21st.
XTEND, AV.com, Extend Technologies. And when we talk about the height of technology, well, Extend can certainly make it happen. In fact, they've been able to even equip the amazing homes that you have, including what is right there in the kitchen with extraordinary technology. People put monitors in there. They can watch whatever they want to watch. I talked about the Elway documentary earlier, but imagine what you can have. For me, I've got the frame TV in one room, the 85-inch in the other. Ken, your compound is...
Stop calling it a compound.
Stuffed to the gills with technology.
923thefan.com or favorite 923 The Fan on the Odyssey app for all today's headline segments. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 923 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
All day long.
All day.
All the time.
At work.
923thefan.com and the Odyssey app.
Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Pelissero reporting that the Bills have requested to interview Grant Yudinski. Grant, you don't get the coach ski because he has Josh Allen ski over there.
Josh Allen or quarterback room
You
of
just
death.
showed me one of the most insane AI videos about our quarterback situation I think I've ever seen in my life. Also, I have found the Glazer Clinic itinerary.
Yes, we have got to go over this.
9:45, I will tell you my itinerary. First, folks, and we got Danny Cunningham in moments. However, we have a giveaway.
You better have time to get your continental breakfast. 923 The Fan looking for a winner. Enter the code word CHECK. CHECK at 923thefan.com before 10 a.m. Your chance to win a pair of lawn tickets to see John Mellencamp, Dancing Words Tour. The Greatest Hits, July 21st, Blossom Music Center as part of the Minutemen Workforce Solutions Concert Series. Tickets on sale this Friday, January 23rd at 10 p.m. at livenation.com.
I'm going to have to write down this itinerary here so I remember it all because I'm a little bit confused.
You need to write down notes to remind you to get some beverages in you. Because you're going to be so engrossed in football.
Oh, my God.
The trap play, what we've been getting wrong for 30 years.
You know, Danny covers basketball, but he's also a football man. He's also a football guy. He coaches high school football.
He played football, didn't he?
He's a footballsman? Yes, he's a footballsman, yes. He's on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Cunningham, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, the inside shot on Substack. Hello, Danny.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
I'm well. Are we overrating the Cavs' struggles because the rest of the East is struggling?
I don't know if it's overrating the Cavs' struggles because of that, but I do think that the shape the rest of the Eastern Conference is in should kind of make us give the Cavs a little bit more slack, if that makes sense. Looking up and down this conference, and this was one of the things I did yesterday, the 4 teams at the top of the conference, I don't think anybody is scared of playing in the postseason, and I realize that is the same thing a lot of people said about the Cavs last year when they won 64 games is, well, nobody's scared of them when the playoffs arrived, and then we see them lose in the second round. But if you look at Detroit, are you scared of playing them in the postseason? I don't think so. Are you scared of playing this version of the Boston Celtics?
I think our bigs might be a little scared to play Detroit in the postseason.
I don't think they are.
I saw him get pushed around last time I saw him.
Ooh.
I don't really think that they necessarily did. I think that the Cavs lost that game in part because Lonzo Ball was a minus 19 in 9 minutes. And I think in the other game they played Detroit, they won by 30 in a game that the final score might have been closer than that. But I saw the Cavs absolutely whip the Pistons in that game. And I think a big part of it, too, the 4 teams at the top of the East have been the 4 healthiest teams in the Eastern Conference, too. The Boston Celtics have had Jason Tatum out the entire year. They've had fewer than, I believe, 15 missed games by the rest of the roster with injuries this year. Those things all matter. It doesn't certainly excuse the Cavs. They should be so much better than they are, and they have underachieved to really significant margins. But, I also think because of where the rest of the East is at, this is not a team that should be buried either.
Yeah, and I think that's foolish to bury them. I do think, and I asked this question at the start of the year, just kind of looking at the landscape of the Eastern Conference, is there a chance the Cavs are worse than they were last year and could still get to the NBA Finals? And I still say yes on both of those. I do think right now there's not a lot of favorable numbers when it comes to what I'm about to say, which is this is the worst team performance-wise of a Donovan Mitchell team. All the teams he's ever been on, this one statistically is the worst by various metrics, and I do wonder how he's feeling about that. Is he's been our Iron Man this year. He's played in, I think, 40 of our 44 games, and the whole point was, as he gets further in his career, especially with the Cavs, that he would be shouldering less of a load, but here we are, he's had to do just as much.
Yeah, I think that is, and to me, that is a reflection of what Evan Mobley has been offensively so far this year. Because with the Darius Garland stuff, him always having to, like, he was never going to come back and immediately be awesome. Like, this was always going to be a ramp up for him. Obviously, the injury to the other foot is not something that you would have liked, but I think that Evan Mobley should have been able to shoulder more of the load offensively so far this year. And I think that has been certainly one of the more disappointing aspects of the Cavs, is that when they tried to give him more offensive responsibility at the start of the season, it didn't go very well. And that's a big part of the reason why Donovan has had to carry more of the load, and the fact that various guys are having career low shooting seasons from beyond the arc is another part of it. And just like basically everything aside from how good Donovan has been, and he has been fantastic this year, everything else has not gone according to plan, and that's why the Cavs are in this position right now.
Yeah, Danny Cunningham joining us on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. How much criticism should be weighed at Kenny Atkinson? What do you think is warranted through the first half of the season? Because there's a lot of times where, I'll explain this to you, Danny, where I've kind of gone back and forth with some people going, he was the coach of the year last year, won 64 games. You fired a coach before. He's doing well up in Detroit now. Like, is it just the coach's fault? Like, I just can't keep saying it's the coach's fault then, can I?
I think there should be some criticism on Kenny, but I don't think that this is like entirely his fault. I don't think Kenny can go out there and make shots for guys, and Kenny can't go out there and grab rebounds or get defensive stops. Like, at a certain point, especially once you already fire a coach with this core, it's on the players to go out and do it. And we've seen what this Cavs team can look like when they're fully healthy. And I do think, while I understand in the postseason they finished in the exact same spot they did under JB, like, I just think that the context matters there. And I think last year's Cavs team had a higher ceiling than any version of the Cavs with JB Bickerstaff was going to have. And I actually think, the ceiling on this year's Cavs team is still pretty high, despite the fact that, they're sitting in, I believe, 7th in the East because of tiebreakers right now, or because of, win percentage being slightly behind the two teams they're virtually tied with. So I think some of it's on Kenny. Like, could he have done a better job with the Evan Mobley stuff at the start of the year? Has he tried to be a little bit too experimental with lineups? Like, I think so. I mean, the Cavs have had 24 different starting lineups this year. Part of that is because of injuries, but part of that too is because he's tried a lot of different things, and a lot of those different things haven't necessarily worked. I think one of the things that has really hurt this team is the lack of consistency. A big part of that is on injuries, but part of that too is on how experimental Kenny has been so far this year.
Do you think that's interesting? You said Evan Mobley at the beginning of the year. Do you think that he's confused, Evan?
No, I think that when you give somebody a different role and then you try to, and I think it's a similar thing with DeAndre Hunter too. I'm not saying that is why those guys have struggled entirely, but I do wonder if it's part of it. Like, Evan at the start of the season was basically told, hey, you need to be able to just go out there and carry the offense for these stretches without Donovan Mitchell, and we are going to give you the basketball in spots that we've not given you the basketball before, and we're just going to say, hey, go score points for us. And that is not who Evan has been throughout his career, and that obviously didn't work. Like, one of the things that I think could have made more sense, and this is so easy to say in hindsight, but one of the things that I thought could have made more sense is, why don't you start Evan the same exact place where he finished last year, right? Like, I think we can all agree that he took steps forward offensively last year, especially in the second half of the season, and then add on from that, like, build up off of that. And if it costs you some wins because your bench isn't very good when you're without Darius and when you're without Max and some other guys that have been injured, then so be it. But I think that would have been a better way to handle Evan Mobley at the start of the season. And instead, it didn't go like that. And he struggled mightily offensively. And I do wonder about his confidence on that end of the floor at certain parts of the season. Now, I do think he's been much better lately. But part of that is I think he's been in a role that looks a lot more similar to what he looks like near the end of last season offensively in terms of what he was doing. So I just think that those things matter when we talk about, why has Evan Mobley been underwhelming so far this season. I just think that's part of the conversation. At the end of the day, Evan needs to be better. Evan is an all-NBA player that should be able to do more than he was capable of doing offensively early on in the season. He needs to be better, and that's why I can't just sit here and say, oh, yes, this is all Kenny Atkinson's fault. I think that'd be silly.
Danny Cunningham joining us here. Should I then give up on the idea of Evan Mobley being a unicorn?
I think I think it's important to say that development is not linear here, but I also don't think Evan is ever going to go out there and be the caliber of Nikola Jokic offensively. I don't think that Evan Mobley is going to be a number one on the offensive end of the floor at any point in his career. I would be surprised if that's the case. He's somebody that is always going to have an extremely high floor because he is incredibly impressive defensively for as underwhelming at times as he has felt offensively. He, to me, has taken a step forward defensively, even after winning Defensive Player of the Year. Like the last 3 or 4 weeks, what he's done defensively is outstanding. But I do think that he is not, because he doesn't have a tight enough handle, because the jump shot hasn't come along or matched the level that it was at last year so far, it's hard for me to envision him being the first option offensively. Now, if you pair him with somebody like Donovan Mitchell, can he get to the point where he's the second option offensively? I think he better be able to do that. But if part of your definition of unicorn is, well, he's also going to be the number one offensive option on a team that wins 55 games and can win the finals, then I do think that I don't want to say that ship has sailed, but it's hard for me to see that happening at this point.
All right, how concerned should all of us be? We're talking to Danny Cunningham right now on the hotline about Darius Garland's toe. Last year, he had a similar injury. I think the grade was different, and it was the other foot. But here we go again now with a new injury, different foot, but another great toe. So what can you tell us? And are we going to be sitting here playoff time wondering again whether he can go or not go?
I think anytime you hear the words great toe sprain with Darius Garland, you're going to be concerned, right? Like because of what happened last year. And I do think that this is an injury that is not as significant as the one that he had last year. And I also think it's important to denote, like that injury that he had that has still affected him through this season, quite frankly, that needed surgery in June, started in the regular season. And Darius Garland played through it in the regular season. And I think that this is the Cavs handling things in a different way. Even if this one is not as significant, giving him 2 weeks off, which is essentially, I imagine, what's going to happen here, giving him 2 weeks off to totally rest and recover and heal, as opposed to having him play through it or allowing him to play through it, I think is the right decision for the Cavs, because they know that they need a healthy version of Darius Garland in the playoffs. Like this is offensively, they have not been the same. I think they really miss Darius when he's not out there, because the quality of shots that they create is not the same when he's off the floor versus when he's on the floor. And I think that if you watch the playoffs last year, like they very clearly missed a guy who could penetrate defenses and handle the basketball. And when they don't have Darius Garland, they still don't have that because Lonzo Ball has not been good enough. So I do think that it's a concerning thing. Anytime Darius gets hurt with his injury history, it's going to be a concerning thing. But I do look at this and say the Cavs are at least handling this the right way by giving him some time off and hopefully allowing it to heal all the way before he's back in game action.
Why do we call it a great toe and not a big toe?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, like that, I guess, is the technical term for it, but it never just call it a big toe. Like, who cares?
I called it a big toe for 38 years of my life, and then last year it was called a great toe.
Yeah, and then everybody makes the joke, oh, it's not so great if it's hurt all the time.
It's fair. That's fair, Danny.
I was going to do salad.
Big toe.
I was going to do salad game.
And I do think we have to change we can't call this turf toe anymore. Like it's a painful injury. It is deserving of a more serious name than turf toe.
I will admit, when I first saw Dion have it before the Super Bowl, I was like, turf toe? What's the big deal? Just running your toe. And then later on, he had to have the toe amputated. That's a very serious injury.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Yeah, go ahead, Danny. Sorry.
No, it's a very serious injury. It's very painful. It needs a new name.
Toe talk on the fan.
As of today, Cavs are the 7th seed. Now, we just had that 2-game series on the road in Philly, so certainly we liked the way that looked, and all of a sudden all the Philly people were like, we do not match up well against the Cavs. Second game, Darius Garland didn't even play, and yet they still couldn't defend us on the perimeter, which was interesting to see. So have you kind of started to line up teams that you would, and maybe I'm being presumptuous, but I do think we're going to make the playoffs, the teams that you think we match up well against and the teams we don't match up well against, and what are you doing with Boston as it looks like Jason Tatum is going to be coming back?
So I'll start with the Boston thing because I really don't know what to do with them. Like they, as I mentioned earlier, have been incredibly healthy throughout the season. And Jaylen Brown has been somebody that if the season ended right now would no doubt about it be on MVP ballots. Like he has been outstanding. And I think that Cavs fans, while it might be upset that Donovan Mitchell's not starting the All-Star game, Jaylen Brown is not one of the guys you should have an issue with starting ahead of Donovan in that game. So he's been awesome. But the Tatum stuff for me almost throws a wrench in it. Like, I wonder if they're going to be better or worse with whatever version of Jason Tatum they'd be getting this season. Because Jason Tatum at his peak is an awesome basketball player. He's probably a top 10 player in the game. But is that who you were getting this year if you're the Celtics? Like, I question whether or not it's the right idea for them to bring him back this year coming off of that torn Achilles, because this team has things going so well. And I don't necessarily think that they're a team that's going to win the title. And I do think that they're going to go through a stretch where they have 2 or 3 bad weeks and fall down the standings, because that's what everyone in the Eastern Conference, maybe other than Detroit, is going to do. And as I mentioned, they've been incredibly healthy aside from Tatum all year long. I haven't necessarily thought a ton about playoff matchups, in part because some of these games that the Cavs have played against teams, like the Cavs have just been so far away from who they are. Like the 3 games against Toronto. In none of those games did the Cavs have anything that resembled what we expect the Cavs to have in terms of personnel in the playoffs. And they lost all 3 games. Should I take that as, well, the Raptors would really handle the Cavs in the postseason? I don't necessarily think so. The Sixers, they've not been the same team. I do think have to look a little bit at context surrounding these games. Like the first game the Cavs played against Philly was on the second night of a back-to-back. When they played on Wednesday of last week, it was the 3rd game in 4 nights for the Sixers. Like, those things do matter. I think that the Cavs match up better in the postseason than it probably feels like right now against a lot of the teams that they could play in the playoffs. But with everything as close as it is in the Eastern Conference, like I believe the Cavs are 3 games out of the number 2 seed right now in the East, which sounds absurd to say given how underwhelming the season has been. But they really could take on one of like 8 teams in the first round or 5 different teams in the second round. So I haven't put a ton of thought into it yet.
Danny, thank you very much for the time. Where can they find you on Substack?
So you got it, guys. At the Inside Shot on Substack is where you can read everything I write, and Locked on Cavs is where you can listen to me talk about this team every day.
Outstanding as always. Danny, thank you very much for the time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
The great Danny Cunningham on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. I am willing to give up on the unicorn status for Evan Mobley. Chet Holmgren was my Waterloo.
That was it?
Yeah. I held out, and then I saw Chet Holmgren one-on-one, and I went, okay, fine. I give up. I'm done.
I think we just, at this point, we know Evan Mobley can dominate a game defensively and offensively as a role player who just finishes around the rim. He can do that and be really good, but then you also know other guys have to step up because Evan's not capable of like, hey, Evan, we need a 25 to 30 point night tonight. We need you to pick up. Maybe Donovan's going to be doubled. We need you to really go out there and get some buckets. I don't think you can do that or count on that right now.
Coming up in 5 minutes, you might have some stiff competition for your top candidate. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, a new suitor has entered the competition in 5 on the Fan.
It's Anthony Lima.
Advertise with Odyssey. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
Listen to 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn app.
Bills have requested to interview Grant Yudinski. Does that change your mind on if you want him or not?
It's funny, I saw people say Browns have to work quick now. They've got to get this taken care of now. Get the Rooney Rule done. Hire him right now.
Well,
we can't have another team going after him.
Let me ask you. We've had a week to research. Why do you guys want Grant Yudinski? Nick can't believe it. Nick thinks this is insane. Nick Wilson thinks it's insane. Social media reactions brought to you by who, Owen?
Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
I ran a poll last night into today, and Nick was like, WTF. He said he's reacting to the result. 50%. We got 7 minutes left in this poll. I said, okay, new one, because I put the first one 10 minutes out before Mike McDaniel pulled his name out of the hat, which we talked about at length earlier today. Might even bring it up later on before the show. 92.3thefan.com and the free Odyssey app. I wrote, okay, who do you want now? Yudinski, Jim Schwartz, Sean McDermott, none of the above. Only 16% said Jim Schwartz. Surprising to you?
Not totally surprising, just given anybody would go back, and it's a long time ago now, but go back and look at his record, and you know how fans are. They'll just say, bad coach, bad record, bad coach.
26.2% said Sean McDermott. 50%, 50.3%. A lot of people voted on this, man. Put out Grant Yudinski. If you want Yudinski, why? 216-474-0092. Give me a good reason. I'm very interested in him. And the reason I can give is not a great reason. I haven't heard anything negative to him. I have nothing but time, so I have patience for the young man. So if they were like, well, he's going to be a head coach in 2 years, why don't I just speed up the process then, huh? I don't think I'm going to go there. But and also, if I don't win many games this coming year, and I don't think we are going to win many games this year, you're not going to fire him. You'd just fire Andrew Berry, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? If you're going to fire somebody, wouldn't you just fire Andrew and not the 30-year-old?
So yeah, but you'd assume the next coach would say, why is this guy my head coach?
Those aren't reasons. I can't give you great reasons. I don't know much about the guy. I told you. I had Matthew Collar mention him like a couple years ago, and then that was it.
Well,
he was 26 or 27 at the time.
He's young, so he hasn't made his mistakes yet.
Exactly.
That's key for fans because they don't want to look at a retread who's lost games before or a coordinator who's lost a playoff game because that's what happens. Normally in past Browns coaching searches, we have been looking at coordinators that are in the NFC and AFC championship game. How'd they do in that game? Do we want them? Which is so silly. Like, that is the dumbest way to evaluate these coaches. But it's all we got. And with Grant Yudinski, we got nothing other than he has 100% approval rating of anybody that's worked with him. Okay, well, that's just the people that are willing to talk, and that's typically what the approval rating is for most guys who have not really done a whole lot. Like all the up-and-coming guys, if there is a Nate Schillhouse on every football team in every coaching room in America.
There was on the Browns. On the 2014 Browns, there was a Mike McDaniel on that staff. They were not a good football team. Even on bad, you're so right. Even on bad football teams, there's a young guy that the right people are excited about. 100%.
Sure. So I think right now fans have just looked at the list of candidates. They're like, nope, don't want him. Nope, don't want him. That's not very exciting. Hey, 30-year-old or 29-year-old, how old is he? That they're comparing to Sean McVay.
He's
Boom,
30.
Take him. Boom.
And I've knocked down, like David brings up, the 30-year-old kid who's never called plays on an offense over a coach who's 90 and 50 and made the playoffs every year.
That's over McDermott?
Sean McDermott. The never called plays things, I told you, man, I think that's overrated. But I'm telling you, if it came down to organization and the process of an offseason, getting a team ready, the week-by-week thing, wouldn't Sean McDermott blow him out of the water?
Yes, but you're banking on somebody who's got the aptitude, the capacity to have like this ascension where not only can they pick it up, I mean, it'd be a lot to ask of this dude who's never called plays to coach a team and call plays. Like, that would be controversial.
You have to get a play caller for him. You cannot do that. Your first time out calling plays, you're going to be the head coach of the football team. No, that's a disaster waiting to happen. You're setting him up in a bad spot. I'd have a lump in my throat. Mark that down, because if they hire the guy and then they say he's the play caller, I can't walk away from those words. The second thing of it is, and I have been texted this, and I think you probably have as well. McDaniel pulling his name out. I'm going to get to the Udinski folks here in a second. McDaniel pulling his name out. There have been a couple of people who have reached out who said the forced marriage, quote unquote, between him and Jim Schwartz might not go very well. Now, this is McDaniel they were telling us about. Did you get the same thing?
Heard it, yeah.
Because they said that maybe Schwartz would walk all over him. And I'm going, all right, if he's going to walk over a former head coach, is he going to walk all over a 30-year-old? I mean, McDaniel, both Jim Schwartz and Mike McDaniel, whether you like one guy or hate the other, they're both former coaches. They've both been fired from a job. So if one guy's going to walk all over that guy, according to texts, is another guy going to be walked all over? Because the 30-year-old can't be walked over.
Well,
now, you could look at Jim and say, you're in charge of the defense.
Yeah, that's it.
You could try to do that. You have to have very specific roles, and you can't turn this thing. And then the question would be to Jim Schwartz, you have to find every single way possible, because there's going to be things that you might not agree with. You have to find every single way possible to be supportive, because you know it's not going to work if you're not supportive. You know those guys on that defense, they love Jim Schwartz. They love him. I mean, they will follow him into hell with gasoline pants on. They really like that guy. And I'm telling you right now, Jim Schwartz, as powerful as he is, can turn that defense on a lot of guys. And they turned on Kevin, and he didn't want him to turn on Kevin. So imagine what he does if he turns him on somebody. So we got to be careful about this. So it's like when McDaniel pulled his name out, okay, I could see why. Maybe he did us a favor, but we'll see. You got to be careful about the power structure thing there. And if Udinski, if he does interview with the Bills, now it might just be a courtesy interview, whatever, I don't know. But good God, if you end up getting a choice, like, this is what sucks. This is why I don't like firing people. Change, yeah, I guess a change was necessary to be made, but I don't like firing people because now I don't think a lot of people expected in that building that the Ravens' job would be open and the Steelers' job would be open and the Bills' job would be open at the same time your job's open. And it's just knocked you down a rung. I can give you every reason in the world and try to fight and argue and scream and yell about why this job's better than the Cardinals. It's easy. I don't respect much of the Cardinals. But when it comes to the Bills, yeah, you got Josh Allen. When it comes to the Steelers, you got history. When it comes to the Ravens, you have Lamar Jackson and you have history. There's a lot there that you can't compete with.
We've got Myles Garrett in the defense.
Exactly. If they're serious about bringing in Grant Udinski, I think a lot of us would change our tune and go, good luck with the kid. Fine, good luck with him. It's like, hey, man, they're going to pick Josh Allen out of anybody. Anybody in your room, they're going to pick Josh Allen over. So now I got competition over a guy that people are really excited about, that not a lot of people can give me empirical evidence on why he would be good. Like you said it yourself, like, yeah, we know about the failings of Sean McDermott and Mike McDaniel and so many others, but we also know where they corrected themselves on. Like the stuff about Mike McDaniel, I'll tell you what, last week I was getting a bunch of stuff about Mike McDaniel's personal life, the 2014 incident with Josh Gordon. I'm like, yeah, he's been very public about that. Very public about his struggles.
Which he's done in interviews.
Yeah. And I respect him for that, facing that and owning up to it and moving forward and being open about it. I think there's a great respect to that. And that was not while that incident was terrible and sucked, that's not a net negative against him. So a person being open and honest about that sort of thing isn't a negative. So I agree with you, and I see where you're coming from when you're going, hey, yeah, we know that there's faults here. Where did they improve on the faults to make themselves better? 216-474-0092. Let me get to Anthony in Euclid. Hello, Anthony.
Hey, how are you guys?
Not terrible. Go right on ahead.
Okay, man. I was dreading this to happen. It seems like we're the only team that has stipulations to the job. I know sometime in the past there was such a thing as co-head coaches. What do you think if they had Schwartz, co-head coach, and whoever else, and they're looking at Udinski, co-head coach, and they just stay out of each other's way.
Where's the buck stop? So, there's always got to be one person who makes a decision. If it's Anthony and I, they're always like. I'll be honest with you. Like when it comes to this show, if there's a loggerheads between Anthony and I, Owen makes the final decision. He's the main producer. He's the guy. There has to be one. And if Owen can't figure it out, then Keith's going to figure it out. There has to be somewhere where the buck stops. I can't have two guys in charge.
I agree with you, and that's why I really hated when they fired Kevin. Man, because who else is better suited to continue on or to untangle this mess than Kevin?
Well, I think a lot of times I thought Kevin this last year, Anthony. This is where I'll go away from you on it, and I thank you very much for the call. I think that Kevin let it swallow him up this year. I think this year finally the waves went over him, and that was enough. And that's why I think that I'm not going to take back what I said. I don't think he wanted to be here anymore. I think it was time for it was as about a mutual parting of ways as you could have without having a mutual parting of ways between these two parties. But that reason, what we're talking about now, is why I don't like making changes. My job, when I make a change, I have to hire somebody I think is going to be better than the guy I just let go, and my job has to look like a good job to take. My job doesn't look like as good a job to take as those three teams I just mentioned. Raiders, it would be a much better job to take, except they have the first overall pick in a 1 QB draft. And it's still a league where if you got a good QB, you have a cheat code to at least get yourself to the playoffs, and then we can talk about it afterwards. But you just get to the playoffs. And Sean McDermott got fired. He still got 8 years in the playoffs. So that still is going to work for a guy like that. So you have to fight that now. And as this goes forward, maybe Andrews should be on the table. Maybe they should go back. Maybe this should be more of a Jaguars, Trent Baalke, Liam Cohen situation. I don't think that anything should be off the table here. If you want somebody consistent, steady, I'm just assuming, and that's a bad assumption, I understand that. I may be assuming too much where it's like, well, Andrew has to make the decision. Well, does Andrew have to make the decision? Because if we're going in a direction that you're not comfortable with as a football team, we have to evaluate everything. And that might even be one of the people in charge of the search. 216-474-0092. Coming up, I want to get to some of you guys. If you want Yadinsky, why? Because now you got competition for him. I want to know why. And I found the itinerary, Tone. Football guys are going to be football guys. Ken Carman, Tone Master General on the Fan. Window Nation.
You're in good hands with Allstate. Not available in every state. Only applicable for new auto insurance business. Rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings may vary. Allstate North American Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Whenever you need to talk about the Browns, we got you covered. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Lima, I have found it. Owen, I have found it. Football guy's gonna football guy. I'm out on Friday. I decided to take the holiday. Even though I was off on Monday, this because Dad had a fall. He's doing all right.
Good.
He's doing all right. Combed his hair. He's a vain man. Vain man. I have my itinerary for the Glazer Clinic online on Friday.
Got to set the alarm how early for this one?
It starts in the afternoon because it's Friday to Saturday.
Okay.
So Friday is, first off, we have the Friday keynote, and that is Trey Lamb, Tulsa head coach, how to build your program's DNA. Saturday keynote is developing your program blueprint. That's with Casey Woods, Missouri State head coach. Now, Friday afternoon, my day gets started at 3:30 p.m., Skylar Cassidy, the Oklahoma State defensive coordinator, building a defensive game plan from A to Z.
Okay.
Now, I also have, I put this in here. I could choose one of the two. Which one should I choose here to start? Building a defensive game plan from A to Z with Skylar Cassidy, Oklahoma State defensive coordinator, or how to build a championship program with Bobby Collins, South Point High School, South Carolina head coach.
And who would know better than Bobby with all the success he's had there?
I'm sure that's why they have him speaking about how to build a championship program. They wouldn't have Hugh Jackson speaking about how to build a championship program.
I have to ask, is this Ken Carman defensive coordinator of the 6th grade Streetsboro Rockets next year, or Ken Carman, the board member of Streetsboro Youth Football, the guy that's helping lead a program that's on the rise?
A little bit column A, a little bit of column B.
Well, I need to know which one you're more invested in, because that definitely affects my decision.
I'm already pretty good at being a board member. I'm going to go ahead and take defensive game plan from A to Z.
You got to take that, yeah.
Because you know what? In the middle of the third quarter, we're trying to make a stop on fourth down, get the ball back in Trey's hands. They don't care about how good a board member I was.
That's
the parents
true.
don't care about that. They care about what I dial up on
and
third
you got
down.
all them other boys over there, like your backup guard, whose dad texts you all the time. And his fingers are tingling, ready to put it up in the air because it's fourth quarter, and you got to have those fours up.
7 p.m., youth topic, plan, prepare, lead, anticipate, navigate. How we attack, practice, planning, and dealing with various obstacles in youth sports. The title is so long, I don't even know who's leading the discussion. It doesn't say here. You can't even find the name. It could be me, and I don't even know. I have zero idea. Prepare, lead, anticipate, navigate. The youth topic plan. Yeah, very nice. And I can watch that at 7, and then this goes all the way till 7:55. Youth topic, defense still wins championships with drills that will make the vision a reality. Nice.
And even more topical.
Thank you.
Look at all the teams playing this weekend.
Yes.
Look at how big a role defense has played.
Now,
Indiana's defense was incredible. College football.
Saturday morning, we're up and at 'em at 9 a.m. Will Johnson, Central Florida defensive backs coach, the DB press man techniques and drills. That's at 9 a.m. coming up on Saturday morning. I will be there with bells on to watch that, because I got to tell you, Owen, I still don't know much about secondary play, and I go, you know what? This is going to be a good opportunity to learn more about what guys need to do in the secondary.
Is that all of these elementary school offenses are facing zone, and you come in with press man coverage.
How are they going to beat it?
They're not going to be able to beat
Just
it.
flip on some tape from D'Angelo Pons, Indiana. 5'8", so your players are almost as tall as him.
About the same size.
And look at how dominant he was against those Miami wide receivers.
DB cover 2 techniques and drills. That's at 10:50. Same guy, Will Johnson. Central Florida DB's coach. This goes all the way until 2:50 p.m. The night. This is what I'm actually really excited about. From Adam Brubaker. You've been to Florida or California. It's Simi or Simi.
Ooh, I
thought it was Simi Valley. Simi Valley Bulldogs California head coach Adam Brubaker. Youth topic: the 90-minute practice. Be efficient with your time, because when school starts and then the time changes, starts getting dark. Like 7 o'clock. You got to get moving.
Wrap that thing
We got to
up.
get moving.
Boy, that's cut from the cloth of Signetti. Signetti's been big on we're not health. We got to prioritize health, and so they don't practice as long as some of these other coaches.
I will tell you guys this, and the one coach is on vacation, so I can say this now. I get so bleeping mad if I'm not there on a day, like if I have Browns or something, and I found out that we're dilly-dallying from the plan and we haven't been able to prepare for Saturday. Owen, you've seen my face that next morning.
Well, you obviously have to come in with an itinerary for each practice and follow it accordingly.
I do. Owen, you are Lima. You've seen them. I've had my rundowns for each practice every day. Every day. It's about organization, folks. You learned that from John Wooden, the late great one. So, yeah, Friday, I'm a football guy, man. That's what we do. Speaking of football guys, Grant Yudinsky. You want him, you don't want him. If you want him, why? Do you have a reason? You have not said. Who do you endorse as the next Browns head coach?
Oof.
Because I'm kind of in like, you know what? They ain't going to fire the guy. Terrible reasoning. And I'm like, man, all right.
Yeah, because I said last week,
let's kick the tires on the kid.
I'm
what
like, I probably would have hired McDaniel. And I know that would have been controversial. I think all of these, you have the right to call them controversial no matter who you would. Like, yeah, I would take McDermott, but I don't think Andrew Berry would want to work with him. I
don't think that.
I think Andrew Berry wants a younger guy and can mold in the vision of what he wants the organization to be, and he's not going to take somebody.
Didn't what's his name out in Colorado, the Wizard of Oz, who never showed up and said unless things were good, DiBattista, didn't he want Sean McDermott? Wasn't that the thing?
Years ago, yeah.
So now Andrew's not going to want him? I thought we were all thought partners here, even though one guy's over in Colorado now.
Why haven't we heard anything about McDermott? I don't know. I mean, I know they interviewed him, and he did not get a job offer way back when they hired
What would stop
Hugh
you?
Jackson.
Give me the downside of Sean McDermott. That we're going to run into a wall in the playoffs? Again, we're in the playoffs when you run into
You
that
would
wall.
say that if he's not bringing Josh Allen along, what is he?
Because when
I heard compared to Mark Jackson and what he did with the Warriors. But he was getting them to the playoffs.
Yes.
The Browns are not an organization that is perennial playoffs or on the edge of playoffs.
I don't know how anybody could blame McDermott for not getting past Patrick Mahomes, who some call the best quarterback to ever play.
Yeah, but
I think he's blaming him for that.
I think he's shouldering the blame for not being able to get past Bo Nix.
Yeah, well, I think Josh Allen deserves the blame.
I think the 5 turnovers is probably a lot to blame.
Josh Allen isn't not shouldering the blame. Lamar is kind of like, my fault. Josh Allen is definitely accepting blame. I think you could tell in the post-game press conference. The wailing. 216-474-0092. Can I just say this real quick? I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get to the calls. What you just said alarmed me. This doesn't end the show on a very nice note. What you just said alarmed me. If Andrew Berry, what reason would Andrew Berry not have not to work with Sean McDermott? What reason would he have? You just said if Andrew Berry didn't want him. I'd have to say, if I were Jimmy, I'd go, why don't you want him? You better come up with a really good reason. And if I didn't find that the reason was very good about Sean McDermott, again, I have to question you. Is it not any simpler than that? It is that simple. I hate to oversay that term. But guys, a lot of this can be black and white in terms of just, hey, you either is or you ain't. Are you a guy that can lead our football team? Yes, you can. Have you been a builder before? Yes, you have been. Now, you wouldn't have the same quarterback situation, I understand. Why don't you want to work with him? Are these good reasons or bad reasons? I don't know the bad reasons or the good reasons. So if they're nothing but bad reasons, then I have to question you.
They rarely find a quote retread with that record that he has.
Big thanks to everybody who joined us today. Danny Cunningham was great. Big thanks to Donnie Football gave us a topic. Lord. Good on Donnie. Bob, that's a producer at another station. Bob Haney, Sal Capaccio, all part of Around the Coaching Search. We're back tomorrow morning, 8:20 tomorrow morning. Mary Kay, make sure you're listening with bells on. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Hey, sounds good.
Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Oh, boy. This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
After being fired by the Miami Dolphins as their